Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Wednesday night hobby hangout. Hope everybody is well. We've had a good old natter in the chat tonight. I think before we started, plenty of you rabbiting away having a chat. So let's say hello to you folks that were in nice and early. Marcus, the Super Pumpkin Man, was in at 20 to 5 this afternoon saying hello. Brandon Wofford was in as well, saying he doesn't get off work until 4 o'clock. I'm assuming there's a different time zone involved there. Hello to you too. Peter Cooman, hello. He's working on some Moria goblins on the painting table. We've got ASDF, says he's assembling some Lizardmen Blood Bowl team. Very nice. Lord Maiden, hello to you, matey. We've got, Lord Maiden said he's working on his mini swap. Nice one. Dave Mackay, good evening to you. Ortega, hello in the rerun, mate. Hope you're well. Dave said he's on the hunt for specific figures. The swap is always fun. It's nice to kind of, it takes your mind off focusing on a particular game or a particular range, and you just start looking for certain miniatures that fit the aesthetic you're going for. It's nice that. Tony says, hello, mate. This is how we there yet. We are now, mate. Mark Wright, good evening to you. Spiderlord as well says, great thing about these streams, I can use them to measure how long it takes me to paint my Dreadball team. That's not a bad way to kind of work it out, mate, is it? We've got Tony saying he's forgetting his manners there. Hello, my lovelies. He's doing some green stuff work tonight. Let's hope we can keep it smooth and invisible when everything is done. I'm sure you can. I've seen the miniature you're working on. I'm sure you will absolutely blow it out of the water. We've also got, let's have a look. Dave says, I'm currently chopping off limbs and promptly losing them. The only hobby where you can say that and mean it. Not get 25 years in jail as well. Marcus said he's working on both his friends' Goth Rockers and his mini swap piece. Nice one. He's also saying don't forget to drop a like. Very kind of you there. Tony said his green stuff works on his mini swap. He's just working on the plan for the base. Nice one. Blizzards, hello to you, fella. Lord Maiden saying so much cork cutting. Scott Latham, good evening to you, mate. He's painting some Dreadball tonight. Nice one. I've been doing a bit of work on my Dreadball stuff. I'll show them when we go down to the camera and stuff. I'll show you those in a bit. ASDF says a bit of Dreadball trend tonight. I wonder how that's happened. Mark Corley, hello to you, mate. How are you doing? Spunky Taz says, why are you buggers? Evening, peeps. Andy Smith says, how we, man? Have I ever said how we, man? Or is that just a stereotype? I've probably said it, like, probably without realising it. Like, how we, man? I've definitely said it at the football in the past. John Estel says, evening all. He's painted up his last piece for his new army. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm very well, thanks. Christian, good evening to you, sir. Well, I remember Christian, and I guess it's not something for necessarily for everybody, but for you, we are doing D&D tomorrow night, aren't we, mate? It's in my diary, so I just nobody's mentioned it, or I've missed the conversation. It is on tomorrow night, isn't it? We've also got, let's have a look. We've got Busey in as well. It says evening hobby hooligans. We've got Claudio in. Nice to see you, Claudio, mate. I hope you're doing well. Bobby Clark, good evening. Bobby, what was the thing I just saw you being painting? Was it Count Dooku? I think it was. It was definitely a Star Wars Legion mini. He was absolutely amazing, mate. Connor, good evening to you. Hello, Gareth Lewis as well. Hello, Peter Stockdale. We've got Ryan in as well. Phil Wilkinson. Ryan says, is it a little blurred or is it my phone? I'm not sure, mate. It looks okay on my screen, mate. Try checking the quality of the stream, mate. Sometimes it automatically like puts you on at like 360p or something like that. It looks all right on my screen, so I'm hoping that's the case. Actually, you know what it is? I've got it running at the side there just to check, and it had it running at 360 for me as well. I've just changed it and it's fine. Where else we got? That just jumped off my screen a little bit there. Phil says, Phil Campbell, evening peeps, hope everyone's well. Up in the shed painting 10mm Baron Wars and Footsword Dark Age Irish. I don't know what Baron Wars is, mate, but I hope it's going good. Hello, Peter Nicholas. Santorius Arts in as well. Building a Chaos Gargant. Nice one. Chris Wilson in from Missouri. Good evening or good afternoon, Chris, I guess it is it. Claudio says he's got his first 3D printed minis printed by me on the table. Still waiting for them to completely dry. On the primer, they aren't even 24 hours old and already on the table. Nice one, fella. Nice one. Andy says, Kath has declared Wednesday is drink along with Geordie night. Who might argue? I'm having a little bit of time off the booze, mate, to be honest. I'm just no for no other reason, and I'm just all that hard work I did, kind of losing a bit of weight like last year. over the Christmas, birthday times, lockdown, I just kind of put some of it back on again, really. So I'm trying to eat healthy again. I'm kind of trying to, now the weather's starting to get a bit better, I'm trying to get outside a bit more. So I've decided to cut the booze for a little bit just to try and get a bit of podge off. Phil says he'll be back on Patreon when his money comes in to pay. Thank you very much, Phil. It'll be nice to welcome you back, mate. Christian saying, yes, it's on. Fab, mate. I thought it was. I assumed it was. I was looking forward to it. Andy says, Hobby Hooligans is your next t-shirt. It could well be, mate. And Bobby says, yeah, thanks, it was Duke. We're big fan of Christopher Lee. Yeah, you did it. Certainly did him proud, mate. It was a fantastic representation of him. Good morning to VJ. Hello to you, mate. How are you doing? And hello, Steve Evans, as well. Good evening to you. So, there we go. That's a quick roundup of the gang, of the Hobby Hooligans, as we can now call them. I wonder, is Wednesday night going to be our Hobby Hooligans night rather than a Hobby Hangout? Is that going to be the new thing now? Ryan says, yes, that solved it. Not had it come on in such a rate before was the lowest. Yeah, it randomly, it done it to me as well. I always have one in the background just so I can make sure that it's streaming and stuff like that and I'm not missing anything. So, yeah, it had done the same to me as well, mate. So, let's go down to the table. These are the minis that we've got on tonight. So, these are the Wyldbourne for Mythos by War Cradle. And if you were on the Mythos stream that we did a few weeks ago, these are the ones that I was actually building on the stream. So, since then, obviously, we've got them based up and got them primed, ready to go. This one here that I've just kind of pushed in actually sits on, if I can do it on stream, of course it's going to be open now. It actually sits inside of, where's the little hole in the ground, because I've got it on a pin, so I'll not push it too hard because I want to get it out again, but she sits inside that snake there, but I thought that's going to be a bit of a ball ache to paint, so I've kind of left her loose, just put a little paperclip pin in the bottom there, and then we'll paint her up separate and add her in later on. So this is the plan for this evening. But I think what I'm going to do, in fact, let's see what, let me move them where they're not going to get sort of splashed with water or anything like that while I'm painting. I think we're going to start with one of the snakes tonight because I feel like if I can get the snake colour right, it'll probably kind of influence the paint scheme. And I've got some ideas. Marcus is saying that Centaur Chick looks cool. Let's have a little zoom in on this one so you can see it in a bit more detail. This is the one that we were. I like the kind of like the stomach there, how it's got like kind of like claws bursting open and there's a nice bit of gribbly in the stomach and stuff. But yeah, there's a stack of detail on these things. They really are nice. Lovely miniatures. But I think we're going to start with Snakey Boy. And we'll do a little bit of work on him, her, it, whatever you want to call it. So before I start, just a bit of a quick. Let's grab a few of these, and I'll just show you some of these. This is my my Dreadball team, my first painted Dreadball team for our little challenge here. I'll put a couple of these down, and I'll not show you them all. You don't have to see them all, but it gives you a little bit of flavour about what we've been painting up, or what I've been painting up, I should say. So, and let's get the little guy with his neck about to explode as well. So let's zoom in a little bit. So these are the convict team that came in Dreadball Extreme. Just get some more light on these. And I decided to get them painted up as quickly as I could, really, just to kind of get one under the belt. So these are, let me get a bit more light on them there. Yeah, there's obviously more over there as well, but a lot of them are duplicate sculpts, so I'm just kind of showing these ones off. I didn't want to go for the orange jumpsuits because I think there's obviously quite a lot of those. I did cut the bases off, so if you see, I've got these ones that I'm busy priming up at the minute. If you see how these normally come, with these little tabs on the bottom that go inside those hex bases, I literally I cut them off with some clippers and just get a hobby knife and just cut them flat. And then I've got these hex bases here that I just I add them on. So basically, let's just get that one out of the way. It just gives a nice kind of clean finish to them, basically. And then once they're on there, just paint them up. Very quick kind of base coats. Come on, zoom into this one. Base coats, washes, and then basically taking a little bit of a highlight as well, just to kind of to clean it back up again. And then I've also on the back. So on the rear arcs, you can see I've painted red for the guards. I've painted yellow for the jacks, and I've painted green for the strikers. And then that way it's just really easy to be able to see what each of the different models are when we're doing it. Somebody just saying, did you dry brush? Hope Lives, hello by the way. It said, did you dry brush the bases? Looks very clean. I painted them like base coat, and then I did dry brush them. But however, what I then did was when I painted the back bits, I then basically just took the edge of a brush and just kind of like kind of ran it round the edge a little bit as well. So literally just kind of just like sort of dragging. I think the trick is when you're doing edge highlighting, not to use the tip, to just kind of like drag. Let me move them so it's not zooming on those ones. It's basically just to drag the side of the brush along the edge like that, and you get a nice clean edge on them. So yeah, so that's my first Dreadball team done. Let's move them bad boys out the way, and bad girls, to be fair. But yeah, they were just, I think it's took me, I think they were done in probably like 2 days or something like that. That was the plan on those. So let's get, let me just adjust this camera a bit, and we'll get the shot in, because it looks a little bit, there we go. We'll get that one nice and comfy. Get my wet palette out, and we'll get some paints on. Just get that off the screen there a little bit. And I think what we're gonna do is, I think we're gonna go red and black. I was looking on, if you look at my search history on my phone, yes, I really am going to show you this kind of stuff. This is kind of the snake that's inspired me, but I think I'm going to do it in reverse. I think I'm going to do it red. Because of the way the snake is, you would see a lot of black. So I think I'm going to do kind of like black across its belly, if you like, and red across the top, and then really kind of pick out each individual scale and highlight it up, and maybe kind of a black wash to define between the scales, so it kind of shows up like this. But this is the inspiration for tonight's snake. So I think what we'll start with, I might even start with contrast paint, because I think it's gonna, like how I built up the contrast layers on my Malifaux minis, I think it's gonna work really, really good for this. Let me catch up on some of this chat while we're getting a bit of shaking up going on here. Yes, Hope Lives is in as well. Evening 40 says, Spanky Taz says, don't worry Andy, we'll take up the drink and slack on your behalf. Of course, what my wife did at the weekend as well was, what did she buy me? Was it at the weekend? Or was it for Valentine's Day? It might have been for Valentine's Day, to be fair. She bought me a bottle of spiced rum that I like. So, yeah. It's going to have to wait. It's going to have to wait. Peter says, it's so cold in my hobby computer room. I'm in a blanket to warm up. Well, we had our boiler service today, and they changed a couple of parts on it and said it's a good job you got it serviced, because it could have potentially burst into flames at some point. So it's a good job we did get the boiler serviced. So I need to get a bit of contrast medium there. Oh. Of course, it's on the top shelf. So yeah, but it is nice and warm. There's nothing wrong with the heating, but it was just when you were talking about heating there. So and he did mention that he thinks that the boiler is potentially not big enough for the house that we live in, and that it probably looks like, I think it's got to be about 15 years old, to be fair. The boiler, it was when the house was first built, it was installed. So I think it's going to be a nice expensive new boiler, I think, at some point. But such is life and home ownership. Right, we're just, in fact I might as well just put this on the screen while I'm doing it. So I'm just mixing up some contrast paint with some contrast medium, just to thin it down a little bit. And then I think we'll just, to be honest, I mean, this is my rubbishy kind of brush that I use just for mixing paints. I always kind of use that to get out the pot, give it a little bit of a mix up and stuff, and then I use my better brushes to actually paint with. So could probably do with a bigger brush, I think. Let's Where's that? Very well organised here. Looking around for my brushes. Right. Andy says, I like the poo with snakes. Snakes equals danger noodles. They do, mate. Tony says, I'll send you one of my curries. You'll poo yourself in. I think I'm alright, just going on a bit of a diet, mate, thanks. Ian H, good evening, says they are such good looking minis. I'm well impressed. I mean, to be fair, mate, I mean, all of the War Cradle kind of resins have been pretty impressive. So I kind of expected nothing less, but I think they're a very slightly kind of bigger scale, I think, than most people expect them to be. But they just... Let's get a little bit of zoom on this. And then let's get the light in a bit. There we go. It's nice having an adjustable light to be able to do that. Yeah, so they're a slightly bigger scale, I think, than people expect them to be. But, because I think they're like 30, is it like 34mm scale or something like that? But then all of the War Cradle stuff is sort of like their resin minis, like Wild West Exodus and stuff. But it always just looks, it just gives that little bit of extra size in it. It just gives it like, they're a joy to paint. So you can see some kind of like lines and stuff in these as well. I did kind of use a little bit of filler for some of the joins and stuff, but there is actually some kind of like some cuts that are in the scales. So when it looks like kind of it looks like it might be a join or something like that you can see across here and stuff. That is actually the scales of the snake. So the reason I'm using contrast paint on these is purely just because it's got a really good pigment to it, and it doesn't clog up any of that detail, especially when it's thinned down a little bit as well. And I find contrast paints work really well as a bit of a base color as well. So that's why we're starting with that, and we're just basically just using the El Cheapo brush just to run it in and fill up those scales. And then what we'll do is once it's dry and stuff, we'll highlight all of the bits and pieces. We might have to put a couple of coats of the red Blood Angels on, but it's nice to be able to just kind of paint by numbers a little bit when we're doing these streams. Peter says, I've had it with this. Good snakes on this stream. Yes. If you're not into snakes, I do apologise. I know Christian's a big fan of snakes. So yeah, this stream can be dedicated to you, mate. And if you're not into snakes, I do apologise. Spunky Taz says, putting the loo in Vindaloo. Peter says that those minis are certainly very interesting. I don't know the game at all. So the game itself is called Mythos, for those that don't know about it. And originally, I think it was by Pandemonium Miniatures. So they made the original game, and for whatever reason, I don't know the background to it, but it's ended up with War Cradle. And they had some very beautiful sculpts. However, I think they were a smaller scale, and I think what happened over time was as the game was kind of growing and they were bringing in new sculpts to the game, they had a number of different sculptors that had essentially kind of sort of sculpted the miniatures, for want of a better phrase. And so I think what happened was there was, like, you know, sometimes when games are first starting out and companies are quite small and they use like different freelance sculptors, you sometimes get a little bit of inconsistency in the sculpts across the range because they've been done by different people. So I think what War Cradle did was they essentially kept the feel of the sculpts. They kept a lot of the kind of the main designs, and they've just been re-sculpted, and they've also been increased in size a little bit as well. So yeah, it's with War Cradle now, the company that does Wild West Exodus and Dystopian Wars, and it is essentially think of it as like Malifaux but a little bit simplified. It's set just after the First World War, sort of 1920s. And essentially what happens is that I've just noticed, by the way, the other day I see it essentially and basically a lot. I have to try and stop that. What happens is that we've got like sort of the old gods start to kind of resurface after the Second World War, and basically people start to kind of worship them. And this is where we get that kind of sort of Lovecraftian sort of inspired theme from. So you get all sorts of weird and wonderful sort of cults and monsters and things based around that kind of. It's not a Lovecraft story, if you like, but it is certainly it's inspired by. So yeah, that's the basics. Factions are generally about kind of 6 models, something like that. Not a lot. The game is still relatively new as well, so it's not like there's a whole host of sort of options, if you like. So if you buy a faction starter box, of which all of the models I've just showed you tonight is a faction starter box, that's all the models that's available for that particular faction at the moment. I think there's one model which is like a kind of mercenary model, which can go into a number of different, which can be used in any of the factions, I should say. But it's because it's only sort of 5 or 7 models, it's not a lot to paint. If you do find that you're getting into it and stuff, it's easy to pick up other factions, because I think there's probably about 8-9 factions available actually. So for all there's not many models in a faction at the moment, there is a number of different factions to choose from. I'm gonna have to, my brush keeps hitting that light there. I'll have to just move that around a touch. So we'll just use this. So yeah, if folks are interested, once we get all these all painted up and stuff, I'm sure we'll do a little bit more kind of a deep dive into it. But the rules are all free online. If you go to the War Cradle website, or just Google Mythos War Cradle, you'll find it. The rules are all free online. The stat cards are all free online. So you could just give the game a try with your own miniatures, if you so wish, just to see what you think of it. Like I say, my first impressions of reading through the rules and looking it over is it's very much kind of sort of scenario based, as opposed to sort of kill type thing, and it's like a simplified. I would say like a simplified or a streamlined kind of Malifaux-esque type feel to it for me. So yeah, it's no bad thing. Right, so a little scroll down. Warwick says, do you have any idea how many Dread Ball Extreme sets they sold in the last week or so since a team became the challenge? I don't know, me. I never get to see kind of sales of stuff like that. I unless the company actually reaches out and tells me, I've got no idea sort of how sort of influential, if you like, sort of talking about them on a stream is, or setting up a challenge or anything like that. I've got no idea really. But hopefully it's even if I mean, I'm not trying to sell minis. I'm not making any money from selling the minis themselves. Like if Mantic sold 1,000 boxes of Dread Ball Extreme, I don't sort of get anything out of that. So I'm not really bothered about if they sell or not. It's more about are folks sort of using their own models to, like the old ones they've had lying around. If they've bought some, is it because they're kind of inspired just to paint something a bit different? I just want to get people painting, and you know, obviously at the minute there's not as much gaming going on, so anything that motivates people to pick up their paintbrush and stay in the hobby as well, because I am conscious that there's a lot of people are basically looking elsewhere for hobby while they can't game, and people that drift away from the hobby don't always come back to it. So yeah, my kind of what I want to do is just to keep people in the hobby. I want to keep people painting. I want to keep people sort of involved and talking about games, and when we can get back together for face-to-face gaming, then they're motivated and ready to go again. So yeah, that was a really long-winded way to say no. I have no idea how many they sold, mate. Yes, catch that reference. Where are we? Andrew Fairbanks says, if you ain't going orange, go the old school black and white stripe. I can't paint anything black and white stripe, mate. I can't bring myself to paint black and white stripes as a Sunderland fan. So So all I'm doing is I'm just kind of just keep layering it on a little bit. We'll do some around the head as well. Where was this one? Let's have a look. It's jumping around a little bit. The chat. We've got a few comments. Let me just. I saw a comment there and it jumped off my screen, and now I'm trying to go back to find it. There it was. It was from Bum Kim. It says, "Can you mention whether or not you prefer Mythos versus Wild West Exodus? I'm trying to decide which game to get into." To be honest, mate, as I said, I've not played the game yet, so gameplay-wise, I can't really comment. I have played Wild West Exodus. I've not played Mythos yet, but I have read the rules. I would say the rules for Mythos feel a little more easier to access, and the fact that there's no real list building at the moment with Mythos to complicate the game. I would say that Mythos is the easier one to get into. However, quality of the minis, I think, is for both games is fantastic. They're sort of equal in quality, I would say. You can certainly, I would imagine, judging by the style, they've probably had the same sculptors, or certainly similar style sculptors in making them. If you're looking for something with a bit more crunch, a bit more history, a little bit more kind of competitive nature, if and when that kind of allows, or in your local areas, I would probably suggest Wild West Exodus. But if you're looking for kind of like a fun, maybe a second game or something that's a little bit less taxing mentally, you'll not go far wrong with this. I'm not particularly into list building myself. It's not part of the game that I enjoy like that much. I do it because I have to in order to play games, and that's one of the attractions of this for me. In the same way, I love sort of Warcry for that reason, that I can just pick up a faction and play it. This has that very, very much similar. Certainly at this early stage in the game's life, it's got that same feel to it. That might change over the years as Warcradle release more models and things. So, right, let's get a nice coat of red on that. Peter saying, "I got my extreme set last time you featured Dread Bull." I'm just what can I say? I'm an influencer. I don't mean to be. Colton Lane, this is horrifying. I'm assuming you mean the snake, mate, not me personally. Peter says, "Totally no branding in that colour scheme." Right, Andy? No branding. What's colour scheme we're talking about? Oh, the red and black, you mean? No, of course it's not my favourite kind of mix of colours. I tend not to paint a lot of black on miniatures, and that's kind of. I tell you what, I need to go a bit more red inside there. So yeah, I'm gonna try and give this a go. I mean, if it doesn't work, what's the worst that happens? I can either spray them and start again, or I can just paint over the top or strip them or whatever. So I'm not going to worry about it. It's just, that's part of the fun. I think we sometimes get hung up on panicking about kind of sort of like not diving in until we're 100% sure of what we want to do. I am literally winging this here. What I thought was, if I can use these snakes as kind of like a test for the colour palette, everything else will work into it. So, because I'm a big fan when I'm doing these kind of small number of miniature games, things like this, things like Malifaux, I like to just I like to try and give it a consistent kind of colour scheme, even if they're wearing different clothes, even if what they're wearing doesn't kind of like match each other, just to try and carry a kind of like a main colour through the scheme. I like to do that. So, right, I think that's caught all of the bits that I'd kind of missed. There's a little bit under there. Just get them in. We're going to highlight it all up and stuff anyway, so I'm not too worried if I miss any bits at this stage. Peter says, "No way I'd have that pic on my phone." It's better than some pictures I could leave on my phone, mate, that's for sure. Ian Hayes says, "Tiger snakes look pretty good. Scary when they are near you, but look good." I was looking at some of the different like snakes and stuff just to try and get some nice colour schemes and things. and it was unbelievable, some of the colours of actual snakes. It's a good job I'm not scared of them, that's for sure. Chris Wilton, hello Chris, he's saying I watched the Mythos demo and it felt like a couple of years ago and he wasn't super impressed. Do you know what it is, mate? I think I know which one you mean. If it was the Beast of War one, I watched it again just tonight actually, just to try and get a little bit more of a grip on the rules from a gameplay, and the video wasn't great, if I'm honest. They didn't show a lot of the models, they didn't show a lot of the table. Like there was almost the whole video was just this wide shot of the two guys playing and somebody at the background talking about it, and visually it wasn't really that kind of engaging. So yeah, hopefully I might try and kind of improve on that myself at some point. Right, we'll let that dry a little bit. Actually, you know what it is? I think, shall I or shall I not? I think I'm just going to come in. No, I was going to come in with contrast paints, but I think what I'll do is I'll come in with the Corvus Black, which is a more grey black colour. So if you've never seen them before, this is like kind of like the standard Abaddon Black or Abaddon Black, and the Corvus Black has got a bit of a grey tinge to it, which is quite nice to kind of shade into and highlight up from. So we'll use that one, I think. Let me just give that a little. Chris is saying, curious what our host thinks about them in comparison. Yeah, so I guess what I said before is kind of what I think, but I can't sort of speak with any real authority at this stage until I've actually managed to get some games of Mythos. But like I say, I've read through the rule book. It's pretty sort of easy to understand. It's not a difficult kind of heavy rule set, if you like. Ian says the reason most snakes are dark on top and bright underneath is to increase heat absorption. Ah, there you go. I know nothing about snakes, mate. So mine are from a different part of the world. It just looks a bit more. It might not be anatomically correct, if that's correct, if that's right, or kind of. It might not be correct within nature, but from a visual point of view, I think it'll look a bit more impressive. Fiji says, "Yay, that's 8 eyes on those 4 beastmen. 2 of them I'm happy with, and of course they're on 2 different minis. Just paint 1 eye on each one, make it look like they're winking." I think that might just be might be my new standard now on minis. If we've got eyes on them, just paint them like they're winking. Spiky Tass is pretty sure you can get a Govy grant to help replace boilers under energy efficient schemes. I've never even thought about that, mate. To be fair, I'll have to look into that when the time comes. Thankfully, there's nothing wrong with the boiler at the minute, but I think it's just getting old, and it's obviously they were kind of. I didn't get the impression they were trying to sell me a new boiler, if you like, because they didn't offer to give me any kind of quotes or anything like that. But I think it was just the fact that it's getting on a bit. But they did say that it doesn't look like it was actually because I think since the house was built, the previous owner to us kind of built like a conservatory type on the back of the house. And it looks like they've potentially like added extra radiators and stuff. So it might be that's why they were saying that the boiler doesn't really seem big enough for the size of the house and stuff. And the one in the conservatory kind of never really gets that hot, if I'm honest. So it's definitely got some issue with being at the end of the line. Peter says, good knowledge, yeah. Vormwood, good evening to you, mate. Marcus says, I have a friend wanted me to paint a monster snake model for him, but he wanted it to look like a rainbow snake. I said, no, if you've ever seen a rainbow snake, look it up and you'll understand. Yeah, I have seen a rainbow snake, mate. Some of the snakes I saw tonight looked absolutely beautiful. And they would be nice to kind of to paint. However, it would not like fit with any kind of a scheme that I could carry off across the rest of the faction, if you like. They would stand out too much, and I like them to kind of. It's okay them standing out a little bit by doing something a little bit different, but not to the point where they basically look out of place. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean, mate. Foremost says, have you played much of Mythos? I'm interested in getting. Yeah, like I said, buddy, I've not played it at all yet. I've not played anything for a long time, like sort of miniature gaming wise. I've obviously played sort of the odd bits of board games and stuff with my wife, and I've played loads of stuff with my little boy, like, but like I'm talking like Kaplunk and that kind of stuff. Pop-up pirates. That's about the extent of my gaming being recently. But he loves playing board games, so I can't wait until he gets a little bit older and he can kind of sort of grasp the ones with a little bit more about them. But he obviously understands his dice rolling and kind of and his maths is pretty good. So I think I mentioned this on a stream before. We bought a game called Some Swamp, which essentially you roll 3 dice. There is a sort of like 2d6, and then there's a dice where it's a 50-50 dice with either sort of plus or minus on it. And the idea is you roll the 2 numbered dice, put the plus or minus in the middle, and then that's how many spaces that you move. So it kind of works on his maths and stuff, so he's adding sort of numbers together and things, and he loves playing that. And he always beats me because he did. Whoops, let's get that. Zoom back in. He always beats me because he just seems to have a much better dice rolling hand on him. So I'll be rolling sort of like a 2 and a 1 with a minus symbol in the middle, and he'll be rolling double 6 with a plus. So he's moving 12 and I'm moving 1 space around the board. So yeah, but he loves playing them, and he's got a pretty decent sort of attention span for playing board games. And we quite often get like some of my older miniature games that I'm not too worried about, sort of like getting stuff thrown about a little bit, like Mars Attacks and that kind of stuff. And we'll like set up like a little battle and just roll dice and just say like, if you need like, this one's a really strong one, so he gets 3 dice, and you need to get like 4 or more, and then you roll the dice, and I'll kind of see right which one of the dice has got 4 or more on it. So we kind of use it as like a little kind of learning thing, really. But yeah, he loves that kind of stuff. So as you can see, this is a lot more. It looks actually a little bit darker on camera, but it is quite a kind of like a charcoal grey type thing. So we'll just layer that in a bit, and then we'll pick those scales out and kind of lighten them up a little bit. It won't be like, it'll almost be a little bit more kind of cartoony looking to it, really. But it's getting there. Lord Technopan says there's a bit more meat on this than Splintered Fang Nippers. I do like snakes. I like scales. Yeah, the other one's nice as well. I mean, it's nicely kind of curled around. You can see on this one a little bit better. You can see where the I'll try not to touch it with my brush, but you can see where the big kind of like cuts and splits are in the scales, and it looks like this one's got like some kind of like strap around it that's carrying like bones and things as well, and some bits of rope and stuff. Essentially, in the story, in the background of this, is that these, if I can show you the other ones, let me wash the brush out, and I'll give you the 5 pence story to this. So these 2 young ladies here, if I can grab them without knocking things over, which I can't. These 2 young ladies here, I forget their names now, but we can look them up. Are sisters, and they are essentially they basically they believe in this kind of like sort of like nature type god, basically called the wild. It's either the wild or the Wyldbourne. And essentially what it says is that these basic snakes need to sacrifice, or this god wants sacrifices, so they kill their parents basically, and by giving this sacrifice to the god basically bestows upon them these 2 snakes to basically kind of like look after them. And so these 2 snakes are brothers apparently, and these two young ladies are sisters, and these are the snakes that basically protect them. So yeah, there's a bit of a cool backstory to it. Andy said, have you any plans for a Malifaux beginner series? So I'll tell you what I did, mate. I recorded all of the audio stuff, and then I started recording the kind of like the video footage, and I was editing it together. I was quite happy with how it was going, but it's quite technical. What I was wondering was Malifaux maybe not the best game to start with for a first stab at trying to like do like an intro, like a how to play type thing. So I kind of put it on the back burner for a bit, but it's half finished. It's not like I've It's not like I've kind of like just scrapped it completely. It's a half-finished project at the minute. So I might go back and revisit it. I did think about splitting it up into multiple smaller videos, but the problem with it is it's quite wordy, and I'm just wondering how interesting it is. That's the problem. I think it'll visually look good. I'm quite impressed with like the video footage of what I've done, and the audio, the quality and everything is all great. But I'm just worried that it's not very interesting. I'm kind of second guessing myself a little bit. So yeah, I might come back. It's like I say, it's probably 2/3 finished, mate. But I'll have to come back and revisit it. What I wanted to do was come back with a fresh perspective on it once I'd kind of had a little bit of distance from it. Hope Lives says, I've been meaning to paint a dragon from my pile of shame. Might need some contrast paint. Don't have an airbrush. I'm making notes. I love contrast paint, mate. Honestly, it's I don't think it's the kind of the one coat savior that it was almost marketed as, but it certainly has its place. It gets some, especially some of them, give some really, really nice effects. They're lovely if you kind of paint them over metallics as well. Like if you paint this red over a silver base, it really does kind of give like a kind of candy red finish to it. And I just find that actually even if you just build up multiple layers of it, it gives a really nice finish to it as well. So I'm just using that because I've got some black on my wet palette there while I'm waiting. I'm just basically just painting that base. I'm going to make the base like a proper black later, but this is just getting a base layer on it. And Neil Pilot says, Rainbow Snake, huh? Oof, that would take some time for me. Maybe some dry brushing. I'll see if I can find the snake on my phone, the one I was looking at earlier. Let me scroll back a little bit. That'll be one of the first ones I was looking at. Because I was looking at loads of different ones. Was it this one? No. This was the one I was looking at. It was absolutely beautiful. So I did like that. The colour scheme of that one. But yeah, trying to paint that one in miniature scheme. Maybe not so much. VG says, but the fur and other black bits look too samey. What was that one? Did I miss something there? VG, were you talking? Oh, there. The fur and the black bits look too samey. Yeah, they can do, yeah. How can you not be into snakes? Ian says, don't need to defend using contrast paints. I like them. I just don't have many. A couple I use only as glazers, horses for courses. I've got the full range now, thanks to a certain Mr. Tony who's in the chat tonight. But yeah, initially I wasn't sold on them, and then they kind of grew on me. And the biggest change for me was getting the full range forced me to use them in places where I probably, like, I was buying them when I had a specific project in mind, and what that did was it kind of meant that I wasn't really experimenting with them. So yeah, right, I think if that looks like it's dry, I'm going to come in with a Nuln oil now, and basically try and wash in and make those scales stand out. And then what I'll do is I'll highlight those individual kind of scales back from that. Fiji saying hopefully the black armour will look better once he hits it with a gloss varnish. Yeah, that can sometimes pick it up. Just giving it a bit of a shine certainly gives it a different feel. Hope Lives says, anyone know if you put multiple layers of contrast paint, do you lose the contrast? Right, mate. Give me 1 second. I'm going to show you the Malifaux models that I did. Ignore me. I'm not. They're in the other room. I was going to show you the Malifaux models I did, but it's. Actually, I wonder if I've got a picture on my phone I could potentially show you. because what it did was it just ended up with a really nice deep colour to it. So I wonder if I can find them on my phone and show you. There they are. So those reds there were basically done with just keep layering contrast paint, so like one on top of the other, keep layering it up. This was my Lady Justice crew. So you can kind of see there as well. I did kind of pick out a little bit of orange highlight there, but that was just layer after layer after layer after layer of contrast paint, and it really does. It just gives you quite a nice finish to it, to be honest. Video scene, at least it'll be done by the end of the day, only a month late. Right, let me catch up a little bit. ASDF says that essentials and basics with Andy. Yeah, you know I'm all about doing basic stuff. I'm no pro painter. I'm all about getting them done and getting them done efficiently, really. So yeah, I'm not thinning this down. This is straight from the pot. Maybe there's a little bit of water on my brush, but I'm going to keep it moving about. So what I sometimes do is just, when it's on the model, a little bit of water on the tip of my brush, and just because really what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to kind of wash it into the scales here, and I am going to come back and highlight it all up again afterwards. So I'm not too worried about, like, sort of if it pools a little bit here and there, because we're going to kind of fix that anyway. So all I'm trying to do is, you can see there how it's obviously going to darken the whole thing down, but I want to get that contrast between the scales. That's the bit I'm trying to kind of achieve. Also with the black underneath as well, it doesn't really matter if it goes onto the black, and to be honest, I'll probably wash it on there as well, as long as that's dry. So yeah, I just want people to paint. Like, it doesn't matter whether you've been painting for years, or whether you're a board gamer and you're kind of a bit nervous about painting. I just want folks to give it a try, basically, and I want to show that it doesn't always have to be. Whilst there are some absolutely amazing painters out there, and they have some absolute sort of like unbelievable skill that I'll never achieve, you don't have to measure up to that. You just need to have fun. You need to enjoy it. You need to be happy with what you achieve by the end of it. And that's why some of the videos I've done of things like sort of how to paint the stone sort of finish for those for the Super Fantasy Brawl statues, you know, it's just dry brushing, just simple tips. It's why I did that the painting video for Dystopian Wars as well. Just, you know, if you're not used to painting stuff, or you just want to do something quickly, you know, there's some shortcuts. Dry brushing, washes, contrast paints, they're all legitimate kind of ways just to get things done. So, and for those that saw my the pictures that I posted on Instagram and on on YouTube community tab and that today, which was the kind of the monochrome, the black and white sort of images of how the models for Curse City could look. I'm definitely considering doing that for the Curse City stuff, just to get them done kind of relatively quickly. And I'll probably do a test model before it arrives, and if it works okay, I'll do a video for it, just to try and help people get it done quickly. ASDF, thank you very much. So I feel like the Curse City funds deserve a small bolstering. Thank you very, very much, mate. That is much appreciated. It certainly all helps. I don't know why it hasn't updated the most recent super chatter. It's weird. I don't know whether it's locked again. It's done this before as well. So I apologise if it doesn't update, but I did see your donation. Thank you very much. Alright, so we're just running that in now. Trying to so you can kind of see how it looks a little bit of a mess at the minute, because it's some of it, obviously some of that Nuln oil wash has gone onto the tips of the red as well. And then also don't forget as well, it was over a bit of a Zenithal prime, So some of that contrast paint will be brighter on the top and not elsewhere. But what we're going to do when this is all dry is we're literally going to go in and let me just get that over there a little bit. We're going to go in and we're going to kind of highlight each individual scale, which won't be monotonous in the slightest. Right, have I missed any bits? What you don't want to do when you're using washes and stuff is not miss anywhere, because it always looks weird if you miss some bits. All right, we'll let that one dry a little bit. Peter says snakes make the coolest miniatures. Actually, the scales make for easy dry brushing and washing surfaces. I have a few of the D&D miniatures of snakes and they're cool. Yeah, I had considered just dry brushing these as well, mate, to be honest. I might even try a little bit of dry brushing before I try and highlight each individual one, just to try and build up a bit of a colour shift. Hope Liv says, cheers Andy, been meaning to get some, but they're not cheap. You're right, mate, they're not cheap, but I think they're worth it. They certainly give you a few little shortcuts of stuff. So yeah, that's coming along not too bad. Let me just move some of that around where it's a bit wetter on the bottom, and we'll let that one dry for a touch. Just take that off there. Now, do I want to start the other snake? No, I don't want to start the other snake until I know. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have a little bit of a natter for 5 minutes while I'm having a bit of a drink of my juice, and we'll let that wash dry for a bit. Where are we up to here? Spanky Taz says, are we doing a essentially bingo drinking game tonight? I noticed it when I was editing back my last the video for Curse City off Monday, and as I was editing it, I kind of noticed how much I said it, and I think I say it when I think they must be just those like words that I use to kind of let my head think about stuff for a bit. Tony says the War Cradle standard seems to be 35mm. Sounds outlandish, but a lot of the big companies are creeping to that scale now. Yeah, I mean, if I show you, where's my Space Marine there? Yeah, that's always my go-to comparison. I mean, this one is on a relatively big base as well, but that'll just give you an idea of the. In fact, that's not the best one to really show you. If I show you like a person scale, if you think that like if I get their feet relatively level, because obviously I've built the base up a bit, it's kind of a bit heroic scale, if you like. So that gives you an idea. If I compare it, like the Dreadball minis are quite small actually. So if I compare it to like a Dreadball mini, you can see they're a bit bigger. But I mean, personally for me, my painting's not amazing, so I like the scale. I like the scale to be a little bit bigger. It makes it easier for me to paint. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just while I'm kind of waiting for something to do, we'll paint the rocks and stuff on this one. And I'm gonna use. I think I went too light last time. I think I'm gonna go with. I think we'll go with Eshin Grey. Oh, no, we're not going to go with Eshin. Yeah, we will. We'll go with Eshin Grey as a base. We can always darken it down afterwards. Where are we up to here? Peter says, I believe that there's a company that makes great fantasy snake men. Can't remember which one it is now. I don't think I've ever seen them yet. And he says, for anyone wanting to paint snakes, shall I post them on the Facebook group? If Blackjack Legacy says it's okay. If you want to post any of your stuff, mate, feel free to do so. I know Christian's a big. I think he's got a few pet snakes as well. So maybe we've got a few reptile lovers in the group. Chris says you might notice the contrast slipping with certain colours if you do multiple coats, but generally be fine. Contrast black can sort of go gloss with multiple coats. I find most contrast paints are a little bit shiny, and I find that if you mix it with the technical contrast medium, it seems to take some of the shine out of it actually, and that would be a little bit of advice that I'd potentially give. And Neil Pilot said, well, I just jumped off the top of my screen now. Why does it do that? It looks like there's no chat, and then all of a sudden it flies off the top of the screen. Wow. Where the hell did that go? Jesus. It said there was no more chat, so I scrolled down and then about 40 messages all come through at once. That's why I've just been rambling, because I thought nobody was chatting. And Neil Pilot says, Frostgrave Snake Men. No, you could use them for that, certainly. Also, you think about which minis somebody was talking about before, you know. Yeah, the Ghost Archipelago ones. Mark Coley, hello, mate. Says, people having a bit of a chat. War Mini Painting says, hi, mate, made it to a live stream. Nice to see you in. Thank you very much for coming to join the gang. I hope you are well. So I'm just, I am painting up one of the snakes tonight, but I'm just, while I've got a bit of a wash drying on it there, I'm just painting up the base on this one. I don't really want to get too technical with stuff at the minute on the other minis, because I'm using the snake colours as the base for my is the main colour scheme for the other stuff, but that won't influence the rock that she's standing on, that's for sure, or not too much. And if I do decide to do anything with it, I can always go back and paint it again. So I'll just get in and paint that up. Warwick said, I saw a neat looking Kickstarter, pretty cheap Hero Quest type game called Tiny Epic Dungeons, but I'm too reluctant to back any more Kickstarters. I think the Tiny Epic range is quite a well-known or quite a popular range of stuff. I think they do other stuff too, like other themes. I don't know much about them myself. Did they do a Tiny Epic Monster or Tiny Epic Zombies or something as well? I might have remembered that completely wrong, but it's in my head. That's what comes to mind. So yeah, I think it's kind of like a well-established thing, unless I'm confusing it with something else. I tend not to look on Kickstarter these days, because it's like there's plenty of stuff coming out that I'm already interested in, really. So I tend not to get distracted with Kickstarter stuff. Because for me personally, as I've mentioned this before, since I started doing this full time, like my disposable income has obviously absolutely plummeted. I don't have the spare money to spend on things like I used to when I had a proper 9 to 5 kind of career type thing. They certainly used to pay me a lot more than this does. So I tend to be really careful with what I'm spending my money on these days, and avoiding Kickstarter like the plague is one way to make sure that money stays in my pocket, because the last thing I need to be doing is spending £100-200 on Kickstarter for something I won't see for 18 months. Steve Evans is back in the saddle now. First live stream in ages. I've caught live. I missed the rest of what that said there. Missed your dulcet tones, Andy. Thank you very much, mate. Nice to see you. I hope you're keeping well. Right. So that's killed a little bit of time just painting up that base there. I normally have a hairdryer that I use for drying the minis with the washers and stuff like that, but obviously the last thing that you all need is me blasting a hairdryer on a live stream. And Neil Pilot says the elders are due to get their second dose Thursday. Just waiting to get mine so I can mask up and play. Maybe this spring. I'm starting to feel a little optimistic, I'll be honest. It feels like here in the UK the government has a plan. How accurate that plan is, I don't know, but it gives us some kind of hope that there's actually there's a path, if you like, assuming that everything goes to plan. And by June, if all does go to plan, it feels like we might be sort of in a position where we can start to actually get together again and play some games as big groups. So in celebration of feeling a bit optimistic today, I decided to pre-book my hotel for the UK Games Expo. So the UK Games Expo this year is planned to be in the weekend of, I think it's Friday the 30th of July to August the 1st. They haven't set the tickets on sale yet. The tickets are going to go up for sale after Easter, because I think they're obviously waiting to see sort of if plans look a little bit more firmed up. But I thought if I book a hotel now, or pre-book it if you like, I can cancel it. I've got up until like 2 days before the expo to cancel the hotel and not spend any money. But the last thing I want is to wait until the last minute and then not be able to get in a hotel. Because one thing I've learned over the years is you can get cheaper hotels away from the expo, but actually part of the experience for me is being able to kind of play games like late into the night, have a few drinks with people that I don't get to see very often, and then have a bit of a lie-in and literally get up and roll straight in, like walk across into the expo. So for me, it's worth a little bit extra money that the hotels cost around the NEC to kind of get the full experience. It's almost like a little mini holiday for me. So yeah, so that's why I've booked a hotel now before it's not an option to get one close by, and I can always cancel it if the event doesn't happen. So, but yeah, I'm trying to stay positive about the potential of us all being able to meet up again soon. Let's have a look. Paul, I'm well behind. God, I'm about half an hour behind now. Paul saying you could always do red and white stripes, but don't be expected to be winning games. Yes, you're not wrong there, mate. Colin Wakeland, hello, Colin. Said, what brushes do you use? I generally use, mate, either. I've got these Artist. Zoom in. Artist Opus. I've got the Series S and the Series M brushes. I've also got my Winsor & Newton Series 7s, but for just kind of like putting on big lumps of stuff. I bought some cheap. These ones are called Rock Ninja from Amazon. They came on, like the super cheap ones. If I can find the little pack they came on. Where the hell have I put them? They're here somewhere. There they are. They're one of those packs that you pay for about like sort of like £10, something like that, or £7 or something, and you just get loads of different sizes on it. And I bought them just to get some bigger size brushes, really. But I just thought I'd try them out just to see what they're like. And to be fair, for things like contrast paints, washes, just basic painting, I'm finding that they're pretty decent, to be honest. And I'm probably using them more than I thought I would for actually just general painting too. So, right. So I think what we'll do is we might try a little bit of dry brushing on this first and foremost before we get. Where's the dry brush I want? I think we'll try a little bit of dry brushing just to try and sort of highlight up that red a little bit before we go in. It's still a little bit wet at the bottom there. We'll give it a bit longer. Let me just put some of that out. What you certainly don't want to be doing, folks, for those that are relatively new to painting, you do not want to be doing this while you've still got any wet bits on it, because it makes a right old mess. So we'll give that a touch longer. Right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to catch up with the chat. Where's this buttons here? Where I put my drink over here. I'll catch up with the chat a little bit because I am well behind at the minute. Jeff says he's just popping in to say hi before heading off to the dentist. Hope everything's okay, mate. Ed Handley, hello, mate. He says no list building in the game makes me sad. I love theory crafting lists. It's the bit I enjoy the least, mate. I honestly I'd rather somebody said to me, sort of just pick the models you like the look of and don't worry about kind of points and stuff. I appreciate that there is that you have to have that kind of stuff in games and things, but I enjoy painting, I enjoy playing, and I enjoy talking about stuff. But actually trying to work out certain combinations or kind of the maximum bang for your buck, if you like, points wise, it's just not a bit I enjoy as much. I mean, to be fair, Ed, there is list building in this game. It's just that because it's relatively new, there's not the choice of models to give you lists to build from at the minute. You basically, if you buy a box, that's your kind of crew, if you feel like, at the minute. But over time, that will grow. Let me just go. Bumkim saying thanks for the answer. I like simpler rule sets. We'll try Mythos. Yeah, both rule sets are free online on the War Cradle website. So have a read through them, mate. See which one you prefer before you spend any money. Let me catch up a little bit. Gareth Lewis is right. He's off to do some priming. Catch you later. That was half an hour ago. See you later, mate. Lord Maiden says, I know what you mean. I did the same with my Colette crew. Their ribbons are all one shade of pink to tie the crew together. I love doing that. Just kind of picking like a spot colour type thing just to tie them together. Like what I did with my other Mythos crew. If I scroll back across here, was basically like these have all got different kind of like sort of clothing on, but I've sort of picked that purple and blue just to kind of tie them together. So they've obviously got purple cloaks, but their clothing is different. So I've used the blue to tie them together, and then the leader model's a bit more kind of human-esque, if you like, rather than like masks and things. So I just kind of reversed the colours for him just to make him stand out, and gave him the blue coat with the purple waistcoat or the purple vest, and give him lighter colour trousers. So it's just so it's, I mean, obviously apart from the fact he's got a big red demon climbing up his back, you just kind of, I can see he just stands out a little bit, but it pulls them all together as a matching crew, really. So that was the plan for those. Let me get that drink now. Colton says, I'm glad I'm not the only one who still thinks of them as beasts of war instead of on tabletop. Yeah, it's taking some getting used to, I'll be honest, mate. Tony says, if there was a solo option, I'd be all over Mythos. Who am I kidding? I want to get my grubby mitts on them. You'll love them, mate. They're exactly your kind of minis. I know you'd love painting them. Spanky Taz says, anyone looking at getting low-cost, high-quality alternative to Hero Quest should give Dungeon Crawl by Smackwell Games a lot. Good luck. Never heard of that, mate. It says, Game and Geek did a video on it. I bought the PDF bundle and got them printed by Ducks Direct. Hopefully says, with eyes, now I paint all black and dot white on either side. For some reason it works and it's much easier. If there's ever white above or below the pupil, that's what makes it look crazy and avoid. To be honest, mate, what I tend to do is, if I'm really kind of sort of going to try and do my best, if you like, I tend to paint the eyes first, and try and get them right, and like keep correcting them and get them right, and then basically paint the skin tone around the eyes to shape them, and then work away from the eyes. I rarely leave them until last, because if I leave them till last, it doesn't matter how good the mini looks if I screw the eyes up. Where if I do them first, I can almost kind of build up from that point, if you like. Phil's in, the pipe work may need upgraded too. If the radiator is a piped in micro bore, it may need change to a bigger copper pipe. Yeah, I think it is micro bore, to be fair, mate, but we'll see when the time comes. I don't fancy ripping the house apart to repipe the heating system, that's for sure. Peter says, glad to hear you have the genuine wargamer look at the dice. Oh, well, 100% I do, mate. Right, Chris is saying there, the ruin of bad dice, my poor Malifaux hands are legendary around these parts. Yeah, I used to have that effect. Yeah, the way I played Malifaux, you think I had like 3 black jokers in the deck. Marcus says, this is a bit off topic, but just noticing that this was a rattlesnake made me think I have not eaten rattler meat in a while. I can't say I've ever had rattler meat, mate. Peter said, me either. Yoakum, good evening, mate. He says, a little bit late because I picked up my son from practice. Think I'm start painting his Corvus Cabal. Lovely. VG saying, okay, that's red contrast over the white eyes, letting it dry. Debating coming back to do an orange glint. I like a little bit of orange over the top of red. It really makes it pop. VG saying, I've heard the Corvus Cabal are fun to paint. I've had them built and primed like forever since they came out, and I've still not painted mine yet because I can't settle on the colour scheme I want for them. Andy says, red-sided garter snake on your phone. Is that what it was, mate? I don't know what kind they are. VG saying, the key, I think, to contrast paint is getting the medium and experimentation. Yeah, the medium definitely kind of helps. I think you can use it from the pot, and I do sometimes, but the medium does help as well. Christian sharing the link for Patreon. Awesome, mate. Thank you very much. If anyone would like to support me on Patreon, like Christian said there, from as little as $2 a month, it gets you access to the Patreon only Discord group. I would love to try and, I think we're at like 120 Patreons. I would love to grow that. I think if I can grow it to about 150 Patreons, I think financially that kind of means that doing this full time works. I think I probably need about another 30 Patreons just to give me the kind of the confidence that this has got a bit more of a long-term sort of sustainability in it. I'm not looking to get rich. I'm looking to basically cover my costs, really, like when it comes to bills and things. And because it's not about the money, it's about doing something I love, but obviously I still have to sort of like buy food and pay for electric and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we're probably about 30 Patreons away from like me like kind of relaxing and going, right, financially I think we're all right. So yeah, let's fingers crossed if we can grow that a little bit more this year. ASDF says the essentials and basics was a jab at your earlier comment on using essentially and basically too much. That'll be why I'm well behind in the chat, mate. I'll skip ahead a little bit and look, see if we've got anything kind of standing out here. Mark saying, did someone say Curse City? Vaughn Wood saying Curse City looks fantastic. First game from GW in a long time. I'm pumped for. Tony saying, I love seeing the painted minis that people post. I love seeing people's painted minis, mate. Vijay saying he got around to using Army Painter washes on this team. I hit the gold with the Army Painter soft tone. I have to pick up some of the Army Painter soft tones. I've never used them before. I know they're different to the Army Painter like dip tone stuff, but I've never used the Army Painter wash like the soft tones and stuff. I'll have to try them at some point. Vaughn Wood says white ink from Forge World Inks range is fantastic. I've never used that white ink before. I've got if I could see it somewhere on here. Where the hell have I put it? I've got like a white where the hell did it go? Is it tucked behind that primer there? Yes, there it is. The Dowler Rowney inks. I've used that through the airbrush. This stuff. Yeah, I've used that through my airbrush quite a bit. And it seems to go on nice as well. Luke Pryor, hello fella, how are you doing? Where are we up to here? Says, damn, what was that for Luke? Luke says, damn, I love that marine, I think he said. Where the hell was that? Damn, I like that marine. Yeah, do you know what it is? That was my. I'm sure I've showed this before, but I'm going to show it again because I'm quite proud with how fast it was. So this is essentially. This was basically. See, I do see it all the time. Purple from the bottom, or what was the colour again? If I can see it in front of me. What was the colour I used from the bottom? Typical, I'm not going to remember that. Oh, it's Screamer Pink. Sorry, Screamer Pink from the bottom, and then Avalon Sunset from the top, and then I've just gone in and kind of picked out the black bits, picked out the red bits, a little bit of like fine wash into the vents and stuff on the legs, and then dipped in the Geek Gaming or Gaming. Was it Geek Gaming? Isn't it the Geek Gaming Scenics Mars Ready base? I think it is. Just to kind of finish it off, and that's so the plan is to do all my Indomitus set like that, just using my cheap airbrush and just blast through it. Basically, there's no highlighting on this. There's no edge highlighting. Even the gun is basically painted black and dry brushed silver. The chainsword is painted black and dry brushed silver. The only real detail I've done is I've gone in and painted the lenses with the red, and kind of painted the pipework on the side of the helmet, but it's a really quick paint job. But I just want to kind of show that you don't have to kind of go to town on something just to get them done. But that was my test model base for that. Chris is saying, what are people's? Oh, let me. Spunky Taz was saying I defaulted to yes in the drinking game. I have a bottle of Kraken. It might have just gone by now, mate. Chris is saying, what's people's go-to contrast colours? Definitely contrast Blood Angels red. Definitely the black and the grey. Thalasar blue I absolutely love. I think it's brilliant. And Gulliman Flesh. That's definitely the ones I kind of started with. Their Skeleton Bone one as well I used on my Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Marcus says, my cat said it's time for a break. Peter says, I normally have a hairdryer to dry that paint. Yeah, I figured it wasn't for your hair, mate. I've had to start using a hairdryer on my beard, to be honest. Because when I come out of the shower, it's actually like kind of like dripping wet now. It's been a long time since I've had to dry hair. And because it's getting a little bit fly away, I've got like a brush, and if I dry it with a hairdryer while I'm brushing it, it stops it kind of like looking like a stranded fisherman. Krabby, good evening, mate. Hope you're well. Luke said, I'm considering the gaming gazebo in my garden. To be honest, we've been getting some work done in the garden, getting the fence and stuff put up. We used to just have like kind of like hedges and bushes and stuff, but it was windy as hell when during the winter when there's no leaves on them and things. So we've got fences put up, and hopefully that'll shelter it a little bit, and I might get some games outside. Luke says, what hotel did you go with? I've not done mine yet. I've booked the Ghent in one, mate. Spanky Taz says, I'm an old school RPGer. You never catch me near a gazebo. Christian can get your OG t-shirts and hoodies. Thank you very much. There you go. Modelling the merch. Or some of the merch, I should say. Let's have a little look. VJ saying time for drop-offs and shopping. Going mobile and listening in. Thank you very much, VJ. Paul saying on the subject of snake colour schemes, I heard sky blue is supposed to be a really successful colour scheme. Also useful for Dreadball. I almost painted the snake blue, but it was the fact that the other faction I'd done kind of had that pale blue on. I decided not to clash them. That's why I've gone with the red, really, just so there's that typical kind of red and blue. Phil said he's got 3 concerts to go to that were cancelled last year. Fingers crossed you get to see them soon then, mate. Good evening, James Bray. Steve saying hi, twin. He said a bit of a crash emotionally, being a bit withdrawn lately, feeling much better. I'm glad you're feeling better, mate. I'm glad you're feeling better. Duffy Mikowski, hello to you in a rapidly thawing Levittown. Nice. Just catching ahead there. Hope lives saying, yeah, biggest brush I can find with fine tip these days. I spend first 5 years painting with tiny brushes. I used to do that as well, mate. VJ says there's building a themed army and there's math hammer list building, exploiting rules, loops and stuff. Very different. Yeah, I'm not into kind of trying to like sort of math hammer it or kind of find the most optimal list. I don't mind list building, I just don't enjoy it. It's not the bit I enjoy the most, if you like. It's like I'm not a big fan of building the models themselves, actually, generally. I pretty much prefer just painting them. Red Rose Wargaming, hello Anna, hope you're well. Says I fell asleep on the sofa, so I'm sure you've been very busy. I hope you're feeling okay. Hope things are good for you. Let's have a look and see. We've got a few new names who've just popped in as well. Steve is saying you've done a Kings of War army. Yeah, I've done my Dwarfsmith. I did them for my painting challenge last year. Von Wood saying that's the same ink. Not Forge World, but the ink bottle with the big feet. FW. Oh, I thought it was Forge World. Tabletop Rumble. Good evening, mate. He says Rob Oren told us you were on. He sends his regards. Thank you very much. Rob is a great guy. For those of you who don't know Rob's channel, please head over and check out Rob Oren's channel. Where are we up to here? Colton Lane says he's Black Templar and Skeleton Horde are his favourites. Yeah. Sundered Sykes in as well. Just woke up. He says, "What's Mythos?" I'll come back onto that one, mate, when I come back to some painting. Right, I think I've caught up now. Yes, I've caught back up now, so we can get back to doing some more painting. That was well behind on the chat. So Mythos, for those that are a bit late into the chat and just catching up, Mythos is a game by War Cradle Studios, who also make Wild West Exodus. I'm just looking for my paints here. Hang on. We will also make Wild West Exodus. It's kind of inspired by a Lovecraft kind of mythos, and it is set in the 1920s, just after World War One. And what is basically happening, get a drink of crack in there, is that the old gods have basically resurfaced after all of the devastation of the wars and stuff, and some people are starting to become disillusioned and starting to worship some of those old gods, and so we see all manner of strange creatures and cults starting to come up. And this is the Wyldbourne faction, and the Wyldbourne are basically a kind of like a nature type kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like cult, if you like. And these two snakes, of which, here they go. We've got these two snakes here, are basically protectors of a couple of human girls who basically kind of commit themselves to the Wyldbourne. And then we've also got some models like we've got this big beastie in as well, just to give you an idea of size versus like a human model. Gives you a bit of a, it's pretty cool. And then we've also got, if I can move that out of the way, we've also got things like this sort of centaur type looking creature as well coming from the forest. So yeah, there's some really interesting ones. If you look at some of the other factions and things, there's ones called like the silent ones, the hidden ones rather, which are like very much more like sort of Lovecraftian in that they're kind of like sea monster type things. There's like huge crab. There's some really amazing sort of sculpts and things. So all I'm doing, folks, is I'm taking Mythos Red here, little Artist Opus dry brush, which is the medium one, and I am just dragging it across the tops of the scales here, just to sort of, this is essentially what it will do is clean up where I've put the wash on it, and just redefine, highlighting the tops of the scales again. And then what I'll do is I'll come back. We might even just dry brush it again, to be honest, with a brighter red. I like to go kind of Mythos Red, Evil Sun Scarlet, Wild Rider Red, and that Wild Rider Red tends to be kind of quite an orangey red, and just gives it a bit more of a highlight. So, but we'll just tidy this one up a little bit more red on that. Andy Smith says, so sort the Hobby Hooligan t-shirt and we'll have some. I'll sort a Hobby Hooligan t-shirt out, mate. I'll get onto that and get a new designer. Ed says, I have an analytical braille. List building is a puzzle I can solve. I love solving puzzles. My least favourite bit is building with paint in a close second. That's relative though, still fun. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the hobby, mate, is that there's something for everybody in it. And there's not a lot of hobbies that are like that. And generally, I think what it is I have quite an analytical brain as well. However, when I was basically sort of crunching numbers and kind of doing stuff all day at work every day, the last thing I needed was to kind of come home and then start to try and crunch numbers at home and like sort of read data and try and kind of work that kind of stuff out. So I think that's why I generally didn't enjoy it, was because actually for me it was almost like kind of coming home and doing more work again. So obviously I don't do that now, but since I've been doing this full time, I've not really had a chance to play games because I started doing this full time during the pandemic. So I've not really had the opportunity. Maybe I'll enjoy it a little bit more now that it's not something that I do every day. So there's the Mythos Red. One thing with dry brushing, folks, is if you are switching between colours to try and kind of lighten it up, there's no need to really clean your brush out, because what you'll do is you will naturally start to kind of blend the colours a little bit. So I've still got that kind of that red on my brush here, and I'm just, let me just move, I'll show you what I'm doing for those that don't really dry brush. I'm literally just putting a tiny little bit on the tip. I'm getting my bit of kitchen towel, my bit of paper towel, wiping most of it off. Because can you see there on the paper where it's just starting to pick up on the high spots? That's all you really, nearly said it. That's what you want for this. So I'm just going to very lightly just drag it over there, doing it in one direction, in the direction that the scales are going. Because what I don't want to do is sort of push paint up behind the scales, and I'm just dragging it along the ridges there. And you can see there, if I can adjust this light, you might be able to see. You can see how it's starting to highlight each individual scale. We've still got the black between the scales, which is what I was trying to achieve, but we're starting to highlight up these scales. And what we'll eventually get to with this is we'll get to quite a bit of an orangey red on the tips. Peter says, according to my wife, my favourite bit is buying too much of this stuff. I tell you what, mate, I certainly used to be guilty of that many moons ago. I did a video a while back where basically what happened was, in the background, basically, day drink, was I was saving up to attempt to quit my job and do this full time. So I knew for a fact, one, I wouldn't have that normally that amount of money to spend that I was getting, like sort of my disposable income. I wouldn't have that. So I was trying to cut back to really sort of see if I could afford to cut back. And the other one was that I knew I had way more stuff than I was ever going to get round to, and not sort of buying anything for 6 months really did teach me a lot, and it kind of broke my FOMO spending habits. Really, once I managed to break out of that, it made a huge difference to my hobby in general. I was enjoying the stuff that I was buying or that I'd already bought, and I was really kind of considerate about what I wanted to buy. So yeah, it improved a lot for me personally, but a lot of it was through kind of necessary. Like I said before, now I just don't have the money to spend, so I don't. That's the easiest way to break FOMO, not being able to afford it in the first place. Right. So next one, I'm just coming in here with Ryder Red. So this is a much more orangey red colour. And we're just going to do exactly the same again, just really lightly. Just drag it along the tops here. I'm not trying to get down into the kind of the shadow, the shady areas where it would be. Spanky Taz saying, "Canny money lad, I'm down to the last inch and bottom." Cracking. Now I know I say it, I'm not going to be able to stop myself. But now I'm just going to cringe every time I do. That's the problem. I know I say like a lot. I think that's a very northeast thing as well. But a lot of the time I've noticed is when you're doing a live stream, like dead air, like sort of sitting saying nothing, feels like you're not speaking for hours on end. It might be 10 seconds, but if you don't say anything, it really does start to feel a bit weird. So I think what I tend to do is I will put extra words in, even subconsciously, just to sort of space things out and give me some thinking time. It's rather than just going all the time, because nobody wants to hear that. So I think what we're going to do is we might even go a little bit brighter with that as well. We might try a bit of squig. I don't want squig orange or troll flare orange. We'll go with squig orange, which is kind of like the next one along the range. Just so you know what I'm doing. I'm shaking paint before anybody gets any ideas. Peter says, well, actually, I usually only buy one or two things throughout the year. Usually paints that I used up, etc. And then one massive splurge on the annual Wargame show. Yeah, if you use it as a bit of like an event type thing, there's nothing wrong with that, mate. It's there's nothing wrong with spending money on it, whatever you want to spend your money on. I'm talking about my own personal experience, really, but I think we all certainly spend money on stuff that like never gets to see a paintbrush or never gets to see the table. Right, so we're just lightly dragging that around now. You can kind of, I wonder if I can zoom in a little bit there. Let me get the light over a bit. You can see how it's starting to look. And I'm not doing anything fancy here. Like I'm just very lightly dragging it over, trying to brighten it up a bit. Just along the tops of the scales here. Each time I'm trying to not come as far down as well, so it's just the tops that's getting the brighter colours. Yeah, so it's starting to look a bit scalier. Oops, direction on that one. And I might regret it, but I think I'm going to come in even just a touch brighter again as well. Marcus is saying, so I went by my local game store and placed an order of GW paints, but the owner looked at me funny since they were pinks and other pastels. I told him I'm painting my Sylvaneth like cherry blossoms. Sylvaneth are a perfect excuse to use some colours that you'd never normally use, mate. I've seen some beautiful Sylvaneth paint schemes. Right. So I'm just trying to lighten it up a little bit more now. I think because I've used so many like intermediate colours, you're not getting that extreme changing them, but this one seems to be brightening up the tips. Peter saying, now with the show cancelled, I just buy through the year. It's like all restraints are gone. I always find that when I go to the shows, I'm less impressed these days. There's never the deals that shows used to have, because I think people have deals all the time on the websites and stuff. There's so many shops now sort of doing 20% off and things that I just find that the show deals are generally not that impressive. It's one of the reasons I kind of lost interest in going to Salute, was because other than the deals, if you ignore the fact of kind of meeting up with people, there's nothing to keep you there. You can't play games. There's nowhere to really sit properly. Like the food options are not great. It's a hell of a hike down to London for like a one-day event. I'd much prefer it was kind of split over a few days and there was more stuff to kind of see and do. Anyway, Busey said, have you seen those Vortex shakers? They look pretty good. Yeah, I've seen them, mate. They're just they're just another version of the nail varnish shakers. They use them in like tattoo places and stuff. They used to be really, really expensive, but I know the one that Luke did on his video, I can't remember where it was from, but he obviously got a cheaper version. But I tend to use, if I can see it here, and get it out. I've got one of these, which is one of these. In fact, let me get it under the camera. I'll zoom out a little bit. So these are just nail varnish shakers. So all you do is you get your paint, pop it in there. There's like a little kind of strap thing that you can just put over the top, and then basically just switch them on it. You can kind of just leave it like shaking the paint, and they work great, but they're noisy and they're not great on a live stream. So I do use them normally, but when I'm on a live stream, I'll just give them a shake basically. Right, I'm just cleaning the orange out of the dry brush here. I like to try and keep these ones clean. Peter says, where was that one up to? Marcus is saying, so since COVID impacted me by making me lose work, I qualified for the stimulus check. The first one I made sure to take care of keep my car running, and I've been splurging on hobby stuff. I tell you what, mate, if you can manage it, then you buy what you want, mate. And it's times like this when you appreciate we're kind of like, we're not here for a long time, we're here for a good time, and you only get one life, so make the most of it. It's part of the reason why I wanted to leave my old job and do something like this full time, because life's too short, mate. Enjoy it while you can, that's for sure. My mum died of a heart attack when she was 50, and I'm 46 this year, so I intend to kind of live my best life, as they say. Live it to the full. Not each day as it's your last, because I don't believe in that kind of stuff. You have to plan for the future and stuff, but I think you should certainly live it to its fullest, that's for sure. Right. Christian said, if you're buying new toys or hobby supplies, don't forget the Goblin Gaming affiliate link. Thank you very much, mate. If folks are thinking about Cursed City, if you're thinking about picking up what's it called, Nexus, Pariah Nexus, anything like that, please check out the Goblin Gaming. They normally have 20% off. They have free postage as well over a certain amount, and if you buy through my affiliate link, I make a small commission as well, which helps keep the lights on here as well. So I think what we've got here then is I'm generally quite, it's not as bright as I think as I really wanted, but that's no bad thing. It might just be it might actually look better that way, I think. So the rattle, what colour would the rattle be on the snake? Is it going to be kind of like a grey or something like that? What I am going to do is I'm going to paint these. I think I'm going to pick out some individually, the little kind of spikes around its head and stuff. So we'll paint them with a brighter orange to make them stand out a bit. And let me get a finer brush. Spider Lord saying that's exactly the shaker I have. Yeah. Peter says, best silver if I ever saw were a lady who used glitter on them, painted in a white winter scheme, and used the glitter as frost on the dryads. Wow, mate. Don't think I've ever seen that. Like that. There was a mate of mine did a Sylvaneth scheme, which have like kind of like purpley pink leaves and stuff in it. It looked amazing. Right, I'm gonna just get in a bit closer here so I can see what I'm painting. I'm just gonna highlight some of those. Just pick out some of these like longer ones around the head, just to really pick them out, and around the eyes, make them stand out a little bit. Can always blend them in a little bit later if they look weird. Just to give it a little bit of focus around the face. Spylot saying it was 15 quid. I can't remember how much I paid for mine, mate. It was ages ago. I bought it on like eBay or something like that, but yeah, it wasn't particularly expensive. Peter says maybe sandy brown rattle. Yeah, that might do it, mate. That might do it. I kind of wanted to, I don't know if I wanted to kind of blend in or if I wanted to stand out. So that's why that's maybe, well, we'll maybe start sandy brown and maybe go from there and see what looks the part. But yeah, all I'm doing here, folks, like I said before, is I'm just picking some of these out. We'll blend them in, so it'll but I'm just giving a little bit of focus. Just move that light, a little bit of focus around the face. Steve says I'm off, got work in the morning. Thanks for the stream, Andy. Thank you for popping in, Steve, mate. Thank you very much. Just put them around the eyes there a little bit. Just give a little bit around there as well, I think, just to lighten that one up. John Estel says very Arizona Diamondback set of colours. I've got no idea when it comes to snakes, mate. I saw a red and black snake that I like the look of, but I thought black would be too dark, like for a miniature. So, right, we need to do something in the mouth area as well here. So I think what I'll do is I'll just pick up the edges first and foremost, and I think we'll come in. I might just run some contrast, some dark contrast into the mouth, and then pick out the kind of the forked tongue afterwards. Chris is saying I'm pretty much caught up on my Malifaux now, getting Warrior Nation for Wild West Exodus and lots of Irish and golds for Saga. Nice one. Dark purple rattle, says James. Dark purple, could that work? Dark purple, folks are saying. Let's have a look. I'll tell you what, why don't we try it? John says the Diamondbacks are a baseball team. I know you mentioned one time how sports team colours often work as a scheme. Yeah, it, to be honest, I had considered going green and yellow, like the Green Bay Packers. I was considering going green and yellow with the snake. But then I thought it's going to make me go green and yellow across the whole model range. So, but let's go then. So, is this kind of thing we're talking about, folks? Sort of this kind of purple? Are we looking something like that? Slightly darker. I think we'll go with the darker one, and then we'll try and pull it back from there. We can decide. We can always paint over the top if it doesn't work out. Spider Lord said the music is starting to get a bit 70s erotica. I've said before, mate, I can't hear it. I'm going to try and Nagaroth. That's the one I'm going for, mate. I think I'm going to have to try and change the music up for next week, I think. Blizzard says that's another 75 minis primed. My Dread Ball team, 2 Blood Bowl teams, a couple of random minis in the last of my Malifaux. I sometimes do that kind of stuff, like go through a kind of a big priming spree. Marcus is saying I see a bright yellow and orange rattle. Bright yellow and orange. Orange could work. Like, I mean, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go with darker colour. We can always lighten it up. Sunday says, for the in-game size that this snake is, I don't believe it needs a rattle to scare predators away. I think you're probably right there, mate, to be fair. This is what we did on the last stream. This is what I mean about, like, just dive in and give it a go. Because, like, if you screw it up, you can always just paint over the top. So I'm just going to thin this bit of purple down. And we'll give it a once over. And if it doesn't look right, we can do it again. Spiderlord says, why not the teal from the garter snake? The only problem is, mate, is when I start going like sort of blues and stuff. I was even worried about doing the purple because of the models I've done for the other side, a kind of purple and blue. But I'll tell you what, we'll go with it. And what's the worst that can happen? We can always change it, can't we? So yeah, but as I was saying at the start of the stream, like, never be frightened to just give it a go. So what's the worst that happens? We just paint it over again. And this is the beauty about doing these live streams. Sometimes is just like, sometimes you get to see somebody else's sort of just bumbling through stuff, and sometimes I'll do a test scheme and get my idea. Sometimes I do the live stream is my test scheme, and then I'll go away basically afterwards and finish off the rest of the range. So it's just about sort of just winging it a little bit. Now, I would never have picked purple for this, just because that's not the way my brain works. But I do like how it's looking. Obviously, purple and red go together okay there from the same side of the colour wheel. And what I don't want it to do is to take too much focus away from the snake as well. So what do we think? Yay or nay, folks? What do we think? Yay or nay? I'm not convinced yet. I'm not sure. This is a nice null wash to bring it down. Yeah, I think I'd have to wash it to kind of like to pick out the kind of the bits from the rattle. And we'll see how that one goes when it dries a little bit. So what we'll do while that's drying is we'll get in and we'll do the rock. Paul says, I would say no. Duffy says, well, I believe when in doubt, purple. Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced at the minute, but we'll crack on with, we'll do a little something else and let it go. And I'm not bursting into song, folks, before you ask. Sunday says, I'm not feeling the purple. Steve saying, I like it. A wash and a dry brush and it'll pop. This just shows how different it is, isn't it? I think it's a bit shiny at the minute. Hopefully it says green would make the red look brighter. Green with the red. What I normally do. The problem is when you do green and red, it sometimes looks a bit like Christmas elf. That's the problem. This is what sometimes, I mean, sometimes you have to paint the whole thing to see if it works. So where the base is really light at the minute, I think that sometimes throws my eye and makes me question certain colours. Paul saying the purple and red are too close to each other on the colour wheel. Yeah, they might well be actually, mate. That's why it'd be fine if there was no other colours on it, maybe. But let's see how it goes. Let's see. We'll paint the rocks and stuff. We'll give it so that that kind of darkens it down a little bit, and we'll take it from there. That's the beauty of just giving it a try, isn't it? See how it looks. If it doesn't look right, we'll change it for something else. Opposite on colour wheel, but Christmas elf, good point. I like red and green, but whenever I've painted that, like I think I did my Splintered Fang red and green, and when I did, it did end up looking a bit Christmas elf, and I could never get that thought out of my head after I'd done it. So What's the triad colours with red? I'm not really sure now. I mean, obviously white would work with it. I don't want to do black or anything like that, because obviously the underside's black. Peter's saying highlight it up to be more in line with the tone of the red. Yeah, that could maybe do it, just to kind of bring it back, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's get this this rock painted first. John says completely different option could be Tesseract Glow radioactive snake. Yeah, it could be actually. Could do something a little bit kind of wild. I had considered doing kind of like green for like the slits in the skin and stuff, because obviously I don't want to do red blood because it's a red snake. So to get like the kind of like the gory bits inside, it wouldn't be a slightly different colour as well. And the gribblies. A bit green and purple makes turquoise. Actually quite a purple. But technically go chalky grey with light grey for max contrast. Blue or yellow, or try with red. Blue or yellow. I'll tell you what, I'm not sure now. I'm just kind of looking on my shelf around what's like next to the reds and stuff to try and see what works. But I mean, I think that like sandy brown somebody mentioned would probably work. I just don't know if I want it to. I don't know if I want it to be a focal point or not, or do I want it? I think I kind of want it to almost fade into the background a little bit, because I think it's so close to the face. I think what's drawing me away from this is the purple pulls away from the snake's face. I think that's what the problem is, and maybe like a sandy colour or something like that might just help it kind of blend into the background a little bit, because that should be the focal point, not the rattle. So I might try and tone it down for that reason. That's my thinking anyway. I mean, these live streams are a great way just to talk through like thought processes and stuff. Really, it just shows that we all have different ideas of what we think could work, and none of us are right or wrong. Like, there's never a wrong scheme. Some look better than others, but there's never a wrong one. And the fact that some people like it and some people don't just shows that there's never a right and wrong one. Spiderlord saying Carrickstone. I was looking like, do I kind of go something like that base XV88 or Zandri Dust, and then almost kind of dry brush it up from that. Wash it down with a bit of Agrax and then dry brush it back up. The white mouth though, I think as well, is throwing me a bit. What would inside the mouth be? What's the colour inside of a snake's mouth? Let's have a little Google of that snake again and see what like inside of a snake's mouth. Is it going to be? It's kind of pink, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be pinky inside its mouth. I'll tell you what. Let's go with the pink inside the mouth. That kind of to give me something to work with a bit. What should we use? I think we'll go with a bit of Emperor's Children in the mouth, and then darken it down from that. I think. Yeah, pink the mouth, Duffy's saying, yeah. So we'll go with that a little bit. This is going to be rather bright, but then we will darken it down from that. So you see that the pink might actually help the purple, and it might actually pull the focus back as well. This is why it's all a learning process, isn't it? Trial and error. Pink mouth with a gloss finish and a cigar. Yes. Pink horror, says Busey. Where's my pink horror on here? Yeah, pink horror's a bit darker actually. You're right. I couldn't see it. It's right at the edge of the shade of my lamp was covering it. But I've already started now, so think with it being in shade as well, though, it might actually welcome a little bit of a brighter pink. But it's fiddly to paint inside the mouth without. I don't want to go over the teeth. I'm gonna have to highlight the teeth up anyway, I think. There we go. It's about as good as it's going to get, I think. Nobody's ever going to see inside the mouth on the top here, but I'll know it's there. Pink Orange Screamer Pink. Duffy Makowski says, my orc's mouth are painted a colour called Tutti Frutti. Nice one. Ariel says, when it comes to painting, I find snakes and dragons sort of intimidating. I have shadow emissary and the unopened box is staring at me. To be honest, I was just thinking tonight, actually, I've still got my Malosaurus Rex to paint. I'd put it to one side, and because it's not in my line of sight, I forgot it was still there to paint. And to be honest, this has been a nice little sort of test of painting up the scales and stuff to see what works. I feel like it needs a bit of a wash in that mouth just to kind of get in between the teeth and highlight them a little bit, like sort of differentiate them a bit or delineate them a little bit, and then we'll highlight the teeth back up again. So Tutti Frutti is a gang in Judge Dredd. Tasty Brain Drains as well as hope you don't see inside the mouth. Yes, definitely, mate. Tabletop Ramble says, I can't believe how you can talk and paint at the same time and still get great results. Do you know what it is? It's a practice thing. I wouldn't say I get great results. They're all right, but I wouldn't say I get great results. But yeah, it's that idea of sitting in silence. I think fills me full of dread. So I dare not to talk. Right, let's get a little bit of Agrax, and we're just gonna run a little bit of it into the teeth to give it a little bit of sort of different delineation between them, and then we'll highlight the teeth up just to because all I'm essentially doing is any bits that I haven't painted, or sort of the transition between the inside of the mouth and the teeth and stuff, I'm kind of just hiding them, really. That's all I'm really doing this for. It's a bit heavy, that bit. Let's just thin that down and wash it out. So just come around the tops here. That was very kind of Rob to kind of point a few folks over. Very, very kind indeed. Rob's Tabletop World, for those that are interested. Rob and I did like a live stream together on this channel. I'll have to get him onto this channel at some point. I kept meaning to do it, but kind of got it kind of skipped my mind a little bit. So yeah, I'll have to get Rob back onto my channel. Right, I'm just gonna. Hope Live says, what do you reckon an all-over wash when finishing your minis? I never do that, but I see lots of people do it. I tend to paint the base colours, then do an overall wash sometimes, and then I'll then highlight it back up. So, for example, on have I got something like, so these ships that I've done here for Armada, so that blue there, so that I basically painted blue, painted it silver, a wash over the whole ship, and then I've kind of, you can see there where I've maybe dry brushed down the edge of the silver, and I've gone in and I've highlighted up the blue on the sides. So I tend to base coat, wash, and then highlight it back up, and the highlighting basically just tidies it up a little bit, really. Spiderlaw says, I'm very much regretting choosing yellow for my Dreadball team. I quite like yellow, mate. I quite like painting yellow. I think the trick is just to not worry about not worry about highlighting it too much, because yellow is a funny colour to highlight, really. And sometimes don't worry about the yellow, like work on the other stuff. Just give it, like for example that Space Marine I did before, there's no highlighting on that yellow. It's just, oops, it's just brighter on the top than it is at the bottom, basically. So, like, I haven't worried about trying to highlight it or anything like that. And I think sometimes we get hung up with the idea of we always have to layer everything and we have to highlight everything, and actually you don't. Right, so all I'm trying to do now, folks, I've got Ulth1 grey, and I'm just picking out the tips of those teeth, because doing that wash has just gave me a little bit of, I know I should have left it to dry properly, but it's just given me a little bit of sort of point me in the right direction of where the teeth actually are. Like some of them's got a bit of dry brush red on them there at the back, and just around the fangs. So you can kind of, so all I'm really doing is getting a tiny little bit of paint on the brush, and I'm just dragging it over the edges. I'm not trying to paint the whole tooth at the back really. I'm just trying to kind of, I just want you to be able to see them as opposed to like really picking them out. See, now that purple's kind of grown on me a little bit now because of the pink in the mouth, I think. It's funny how it changes, doesn't it? Let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to wash that down with a Nuln oil now. Tasty Brindrin says, yeah, collab video with you and Rob I think would be cool. I'm now going to have to find the video that you two did for his channel. Yeah, we did it a while ago actually. I'm trying to think when it was now. But we did a live stream on Rob's channel. Talking about just miniature gaming and stuff. I mean, Rob's kind of known, I suppose, more so for his board game stuff. But he's a great painter, and he does a lot of kind of miniature gaming stuff as well. Oops, I was going to just use. Whoops. I almost used my good brushes in my wash there. Where was this one? Sunday Sykes, I chose. Oh, hang on, where were we up to? Has that skipped ahead again? Oh no. Tasty Brain Drains collab video. 20 Booth Leiden, hello to you, mate. Paul saying more of a glaze than a wash. Sunday Sykes, I chose yellow for my Black Orc Blood Bowl team. I don't highlight the yellow, I dim the crevices. Yeah, I do exactly the same. I almost put a brown wash into the shade rather than actually rather than try and highlight the yellow. Marcus says that's why I love painting my Tomb King skeleton skull white, brown wash, dry brush bleed bone, and then a lighter dry brush of skull, and deal with the weapons and done. It's kind of how I did my Aussie Orc Bone Reapers, really relatively simple. Right, so we're just darkening down that purple a bit with a Nuln oil wash. Luke's saying also you're getting used to the purple being there. Yeah, I think it's painting the pink, mate, in the mouth. I think it definitely it took the focus back to the mouth again, I think. So if I can kind of darken that down a bit more, maybe a couple of washes once that one's dry, maybe put another wash over it just to darken it back down again as well. Because I don't really want to make it, I don't want to make it pop so that it almost is distracting. Right, I'm guessing we're gonna. What colour eyes should we do? Should we do yellow eyes? And try and. Did you say what colour you want to do the belly? I was doing a black, mate. So I think I'm just gonna keep the belly black, and maybe just kind of a light dry brush around the bits you can see, I think. Yeah, yellow eyes we're seeing here. So we'll get Avalent Sunset, and we'll put that in first, and we might lighten it up with a little bit of is it Iriel yellow? Yes, yellow, everyone's saying there. Right. Right, let's get just thin this down a touch. No, here's where you see me cock it up live on stream now. Let's see how big those eyes actually are. I think the one on the other side looks bigger, so we might have to go and put a bit of... Is it towards the back or... I'll tell you what, if we fill that one in, we'll extend this one slightly. Yeah, sorry if I go quiet on this bit, folks. I kind of have to concentrate a little bit. I've got it on stream, haven't I? This is why we've got the 70s ball music on. Phil saying pale green will contrast nicely with the red and purple green eyes. Yeah, potentially actually. I like the yellow with the red though. And then I think what we should do is, should we put like a little black line down the eye? Maybe it's highlighted back at the back of it. Right. Right, here's where we screw it up. So now you can see the bit where I go quiet. I can feel myself holding my breath as well at the same time. Just need to get that a little bit darker, I think. It's getting there. It's all right, nice. That'll do us. Right. Now what I normally do with these bases is I will get my Agrax again, put a wash over that grey, just because using the cork, it fills in quite nicely into the kind of like the texture of the cork. So I tend to just lather it on into the recesses here, and then I kind of dry brush a bit of a lighter grey, but I'm not sure if I'm going to dry brush it on this one. So how we're doing for time? 10:30. That's not doing too bad. Tony says you're just showing off now, painting eyes live on time. To be honest, mate, it's a good job the model's a bit bigger. I would not be painting eyes on a human model on telly, that's for sure. It helps when the eyes are about 5 times the size of a human model. Just for reference, normal eyes, snake eyes. Yeah, I certainly would not be doing that on a human model. Alright, so we're just going to get in, run that Agrax. So you can kind of see how it's picking up the texture of the cork and stuff as well. So it just gives it a bit of a worn, earthy feel. Gets a little bit of shading into the rock. Work it in. John's saying the music's gone all gangster. I can't hear it anymore. Like I said before, I can't hear it. It's like a massive long just playlist of background music, like a street. I think it's called stream beats or something like that. It's like like sort of, what's it called, like copyright free music, just to put on in the background basically. Peter says Oh, Busey says, this is where I'd be tempted to stick a self-adhesive googly eyes on. Like big teddy bear eyes. Peter says, I never hear music on these streams. Anyone else have that? I think, to be honest, mate, it depends on what device you're listening to it on. Because I tend to try and keep it quite quiet. If you're listening with headphones on, you'll probably hear it. Because it'll be like it'll boost it a little bit with headphones on. But if you're listening to it on like a TV, or you've got it turned down relatively quiet, like on a computer monitor or something like that, it tends to get lost. It's one of the things I struggle with when I'm doing background music for my videos, because how it sounds on my laptop sounds completely different to how it sounds on my phone, to how it sounds with headphones on, to how it sounds if I play it back through the TV. So I've got to try and make sure it's not intrusive for some people, and by doing that it ends up being too quiet sometimes for others. So yeah, it's just, you kind of get used to it at a certain level and leave it at that, really. John says, when you were painting, when were you saying to yourself, why I, man? Left eye, right eye. Hope this is cracking stream. Thanks, mate. Early start, so I'm off. Thanks to the gents in the chat for great advice. Really want to paint now, not bloody sleep. Catch you guys later. That's good. That's good. Take care, mate. Speak soon. Spanky Taz says, Blackjack Legacy is OG. More old geezer than original Gangster, though. Exactly. Christian says he doesn't hear the music either. I think it's because I'm listening through the TV. Yeah, my TV seems to kind of cut out background music, background sounds as well. Colton says, just finishing varnishing his Dread pageant from Diachasm. Now the whole box is done. It's time to play the game. Nice one. Peter says, I can't increase the volume. Andy's deafening it already. It's weird, that, mate. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll very quickly turn the music up for you folks so you can hear what it is. So I've got it at like negative 41 decibels here. So I'm going to turn the music up a little bit so you'll be able to hear it. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that much now. So there you go. There you go. So that's kind of like the music that's in the background, but it's obviously way too loud. So that's why I kind of put it back. I put it back down again. There we go. I'll put it back down. So for those of you that don't normally hear it, you might have been able to hear it a little bit there. Marcus is saying I can barely hear the music today. I turned it down a little bit. I thought it was a bit too loud. I'll tell you what. I'll turn it up for you a bit more, Peter. Okay, because it says I'll turn it up to. Hang on, let me get it back. There you go. You should be able to hear that now, and I'm probably deafening some people now. I apologise if I am, but that's normally what's kind of like chuntering away in the background. I'll turn it back down again though, so it's not too bad. I've turned it up a little bit from where it was earlier on. Let me know if that's okay for everybody. Right, we'll put the black on the base now, I think. I've got loads of paints out tonight. So yeah, Peter, the music is there. I think it's since I replaced my microphone as well, the quality of the microphone's better. And because I can't hear it back live, I don't like wearing headphones when I'm sitting sort of like painting and things. Because I can't hear it back live, I have to just I listen to it like as a test before we start. But then obviously I'm just listening to it through my my computer monitor, and that's not it's not really good enough to decide whether it's loud enough and stuff for everybody. This is where you have co-hosting who can be listening to it in the background and playing about with it while it's live and stuff. The joys of doing it all on my own. I'm happy not to hear it, to be honest. There you go, mate. Then. Right, so all we're going to do now is we're going to get Abaddon Black or Abaddon. Is it Abaddon? Abaddon? I think it's Abaddon. And we're just going to go back over that base now and just. I like to do a kind of multiple thin layers on the base, and you get a nice smooth paint on the base and the rim. Tabletop Ramble says, I've been putting off painting my Mythic Battles Pantheon. Seeing this has put it back at the top of my queue. Some great scaled models in it. Yeah, get it done, mate. Get it done. You should, there's nothing to fear with painting. No matter whether you've been painting for years, whether you've sort of just jumped into it. Like, you don't have to paint models. Like, it's like, I'm not kind of like some kind of gatekeepery person who says you should always paint your models. However, no matter how well you paint your model, a little bit of effort into it, a painted model always kind of looks better on a table or in a board game than just a grey plastic one. It's much easier to tell them apart. It's just a bit more immersive as well. I just find games are more fun when I at least put a little bit of effort into painting my stuff. They are for me anyway, but each to their own. I would never criticise anybody else for saying grey plastic's good enough for them. That's everybody's got their own tastes and choices and stuff. So I'm just tidying up the edges. Right, and we'll let that dry a touch. I'm kind of happy with how that's turned up. The purple definitely looks. This is what I mean, folks, about like sometimes you have to see it through to the end, because that purple. I wasn't sold on the purple, but I still had like the white of the base, and I still had like the white in the mouth and stuff. And it's weird, like how it's distracting. This is why doing a test model is normally a good idea, because then at least you know what the end goal is, if you like. Because I would have painted over that purple, I think, if I'd sort of knee jerked onto what it was. Right, there's a few like little cuts and stuff in the skin. I wonder if I run the purple into there, if we have like kind of purpley blood. As you can see, let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about here. You see on the skin here, there's like sort of as if it's been in some kind of like a fight type thing, and there's like little slits. There's like 3 on here as well. I wonder if I do that. I wonder if I do that purple as well, just to kind of pull it all together, as if it's got like purpley blood. Where are we at? Pusey's saying he's got an update on his fan noise. Elegoo is mailed back saying they're sending replacement fans. Oh, that's pretty good, mate. Elegoo, good with customer service. Nice one. Phil saying, cheers for the stream, Andy. Night, folks. Take care. Good night, mate. See you later. Abaddon is correct, says Peter. I thought it was Abaddon. But I think I've heard on an audio book Abaddon, and that kind of threw me. TC Brain Drain says, music is at an acceptable volume for me. I'm watching on a PC and listening with headphones. If you're listening with headphones, mate, you can probably hear it louder than anywhere else. So if it's comfortable for you, that's all right. Peter says, I may have tuned my brain to ignore music. Noisy neighbours. I can imagine that, mate. Colton Lane says, it feels bad to play with unpainted models. I rarely do it anymore because it kind of kills the fun. Yeah, and I think everybody, like I said before, everybody's different, but there's definitely like sort of personal taste, if you like. It's up to everybody if they want to kind of do it or not. Peter saying, I usually paint models for gaming purposes. The rest tend to stay grey. Yeah, I mean, I like to play with painted models. I'll be honest, it adds something to the game, and it almost feels like I'm painting for a reason as well as just to do them, if you like. Tabletop Ron says, I'm scared of doing a bad job as the game has so many fantastic models and it's not cheap. I think a lot of people are put off like that, mate, but you're never going to get better if you don't paint more. Like, it's just a practice thing. It's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get. And what's bad at the end of the day? Like, it doesn't, like, as long as you're happy with it, really, it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. And to be honest, even just spraying the minis like a colour rather than being grey plastic is sometimes nice. Like I've considered many times just doing this with like board game minis, like sort of spray them black, spray them from above with white, and pick out some bits on them. I'll see if I can. I don't know if I've got the picture on my phone of the ones I did for Gore Chosen many years ago, and I did them super quick just so that when me and my wife were playing, we could tell them apart on the board because they like she doesn't understand like what the difference between the different models was. So I'll see if I can find the picture. I wonder if I can. It might have been on my actually Instagram might be the best place to find it if I can find it on here. I'm sure I've shared it at some point. Where was it? Sorry for the the dual chat while I'm looking through this, folks. I'm sure it'll turn up at some point. There it is. No, it's not. That's something different. Where the hell is it? I'll definitely share it on Instagram at some point. Oh god. Oh, there we go. So that's how I painted my Go Chosen minis quite some time ago. So sprayed black, sort of sprayed sort of white or grey from above like a Zenithal Prime, and then I just picked out a couple of pieces on them, just to kind of like so that they were different, so that they stood out on the tabletop and we could see which one was which. So yeah, I'm considering doing something along those lines for Cursed City really. But yeah, like even that's better than sort of grey plastic. I mean, I quite like that actually. But yeah, so never feel like you're not good enough, or never feel too scared about it. You got to start somewhere. So, where are we up to? Paul saying there, if you want to do blood between the scales, don't want to do red, use Nurgle's Rot if you have it. What colour is Nurgle's Rot? I'm assuming it's a greeny colour, is it? Nurgle's Rot. I can't see if I've got it. Deathclaw Green. I've got all of the base paints and all of the layer paints. So if it's one of those two, I should have it somewhere. What colour's Nurgle's? Oh, that's a technical paint. Nah, I don't have many of the technical paints, mate. Let's have a look. I might have to have a think about that one. Basically, slime green. It's a technical paint. The only other thing I could do... Nah, the red's not going to work, is it? It's a greeny yellow paint that's glossy. Because in the past, like when I'm doing blood stuff, I tend to use this stuff, which is the Tamiya Clear Red. And that always looks good, but I'm not going to do that over the red, I don't think. Although it would be shiny, so... John says it's meant to be a play on Baden. Is it really, mate? I never knew that one. Spylos, and yeah, they're runes carved in the snake. They look like they're just kind of splits, mate, like as if it's been in a fight type thing, as opposed to runes on this one. Although there is one... There's the one in here as well. I tell you what I might do is I might run some kind of like some white or Ulthwan grey in it, and then use a contrast paint or something like that just to pick them out. And then maybe run a little bit of gloss. We'll try that. So let's take a fine tip. Here's where we get super careful again. And try just running it in. So, in fact, you kind of want that water, don't you? Really, you want it to run in. So I'll just kind of pick that out a little bit, and then what I'll do is I'll run some contrast paint into it just to highlight it, I think. And what I'll do is before I do that, I'll dry brush the red a little bit, I think, over the top just to pick up the edges. And if it looks terrible, it'll just get a wash thrown over the top. Right. So do the same on the other ones. They're kind of like a bit there. There's another one up here as well. And then I think that one's actually a join in the plastic. So I'm not going to do that one. We'll try it. We'll see how it turns out. We're just experimenting, aren't we? It's just a bit of an experiment. Right. Let that dry a bit, and then we'll run some contrast paint into it. Tabletop Ramble says my painting is bad. Mine's not great, mate. I just got used to it. I embraced it. I'm happy with it now. Peter's got some dark elder. I sprayed white, applied ink to the armor, and another color ink to weapons. Job done. That's kind of where contrast paints come in as well. But yeah, inks work in a very similar way. Tony saying I went with a comic book monochrome look for my Walking Dead walkers. Took me much longer to paint than normal. I'm not kind of going over the top monochrome though. I'm probably just going to go like sort of zenithal, I think, and pick out certain areas a bit like I did with those ones. Sunday said if I was playing 40k and the big units were painted but a few troops weren't, I could live with that. But in Kill Team or Blood Bowl, the whole knot needs to be painted or it loses something. I get that mind. Spanky Taz says I've painted board game minis black with a zenithal highlight and a sepia wash to give them an antique ivory bone look. Yeah, exactly, mate. Colton saying it's a greeny yellow paint that's glossy. Technical paint. Oh, yeah, that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Tabletop Rama said don't mind painting minis for small games like Dead Zone. Excuse me, where's my drink? There it is, but Dead Zone. Also, and the amount of stuff in Mythic Battles. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff in there, to be fair, mate. The trick is to paint them in the order you're going to play them. So if Mission 1 uses 10 models, paint the 10 models for Mission 1. And then if you want to play Mission 2, paint the 10 models for Mission 2 type thing. They don't think of the whole box set as I must paint everything to play. Just think, well, for this first bit, to play the game I want to play, I only need to paint these ones, so concentrate on those. Joachim saying got some skin done on his Corvus Cabal. Thanks for the company. Good night, mate. Thanks for coming in. Colton saying that's my go-to for the blood as well. Yeah, I bought that years ago before like Blood for the Blood God was even a thing and stuff. Spanky says works well with games containing lots of the same sculpts, almost like chess piece vibe. Yeah. Spiderlord says why not use the colour from the mouth with a wash over it? I could do, I suppose. I don't know if it was take the pink. Could do, I suppose. No, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of go with what we're talking about, and I think I'm going to take Plague Bearer Flesh. I think give that a bloody good shake up, and we'll run that into the recesses. Give it a bit of a greeny tinge. What are we up to? Dave Mackay saying good night all. Early start as well. Those squiggly lines won't draw themselves. Exactly, mate. Cotton says volume is tough in my case with Zombicide coming to me in the next month or so. I'm going to paint the baseline zombies quicker and put more time in. Yeah, honestly, like I say, work out what you need to play the first scenario, because let's be honest, how often do we play through the entire game to the end? We end up playing the first one over and over again. So work out what you need for the first bit and then and get them done. And if you're enjoying it, then that'll motivate you to paint the rest. Paul says you can't do that with Mythic Battles. It's a list building game, so you would need to build 2 lists and then paint them. There you go. Build 2 lists and paint them. Do it that way then. Spanky Taz says, yeah, pink would make it look like split flesh rather than blood. Yeah, it would make it look a bit like split flesh. But let's try this. What's the worst that happens? We end up going back and redoing it. So, right, let's get this and we'll just kind of run it in. It might need a few coats on it, I think, because it's quite see-through, this one. And I think what we might do is we might just do a little bit of dry brushing of the red as well, just to pick it up on the edges. The beauty with the contrast paint is it doesn't really stain the red around it. It's only picking up on the whiter bits. So it's not too bad. There you go. That's not too bad, is it? Just gives it a little bit of something, almost like a little bit of kind of some kind of ethereal glow coming from the inside. Where are we up to here? Colton saying sometimes you got to either take the time to make them all the same level or cut some corners in less important areas. Cutting corners 100%, especially when it's big jobs. Like folks, like all these folks that generally, I mean, unless you're like a commission painter, a bit like some of the big painters and stuff, where you're kind of doing it for a living, and you just get generally faster over time. But if you're these people that like almost paint to like Golden Demon winning standard, it'll take years to paint like a full army. So if you're painting to player, like they don't have to be to that kind of standard. Don't worry about them. I think I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and I might even run a little bit of gloss varnish into those. Spanky Taz says, yeah, pink would make it look like with flesh. Damn typing skills are failing. Basically, I blame Blackjack like this with the damn drinking game. You still doing that one, mate? Rathammer says, took my group a year to finish Blackstone Fortress. I can imagine, mate. I can imagine. Yeah, it's gonna. I'll be honest, my Silver Tower is hardly touched, but I have played through it. Paul says, I think you mentioned a few weeks ago you basically have to plan big projects. I have certainly put a plan together to get through Star Saga, and so far it's working out. I think that's it. I mean, I'm not necessarily a fan of planning too far ahead, which is why I think saying I want to paint the entire box or I want to paint a 2,000 point army, I think you can sometimes get a little bit lost with the scale of it. But if you say I want to paint just the models for the first scenario, or I want to paint the first 200 points for this army, or I just want to paint a tank and then I'll paint the rest, like setting yourself small manageable targets and achieving them motivates you to keep going and do more and more. Tabletop Ramos says it's got a draft first, so you know what's going to get used. Also, you don't know what's going to get used. Bloody hell, mate. Yeah, in that case, maybe not bother with that one. Do something different. Lord Mids, I'm now watching on the phone while you're on the laptop. I have a grumpy cat who wants attention. Colton says, I like the look of it. I bet the gloss will look good on it. Yeah, I think it will just kind of give it a little bit of pop. That nurgly kind of plague bearer flesh, a bit slimy green. It's not like too lime green, and I think that'll just give it a bit of pop. Once it dries, I'll just really gently just run some gloss varnish into them bits to make them stand out a little bit, and then I think that's the rock work needs a little bit of dry brushing on it, but I'm a bit scared about that now, to be fair. Well, in fact, I should do it so you can all see me screw it up. What should we do for it? I think not Ulthuan Grey is going to be a bit light, so we'll go with we'll go with Administratum grey. So I'm going to go with a small dry brush here, so I don't screw it up. Not that one. We'll go with just like a small, an old school dry brush. And all I really want to do is just pick up on the edges, really, just to give that kind of a little bit of definition to the rock. Just kind of, I don't know if you can see that in the light there, just to highlight it a little bit, give it a little bit of pop so it doesn't look quite so flat. We can always wash it over with a null wash or a Agrax wash as well again afterwards if it looks a bit too contrast. Just give it a little bit, just pick up some of the texture. There we go. Clean that brush off. Right, is that dry enough now? Maybe not quite. Maybe not quite. Right, I'll get my gloss varnish. Let's see if I can find it, folks. Where the hell is it? Is it on my shelf? No, it's not. Oh, hang on, I think it's pushed right to the back here. Oh, where the hell is it? That's matte varnish. Oh, there it is. Right at the back of my extras drawer. So, bit of gloss varnish. And then what we'll do is something small here. That'll do. Something I'm not too worried about getting damaged or anything with the gloss. So, and then we'll just kind of run it into there, just to give it a bit of texture, really, just to stand out a little bit from the red scales. And then we're nearly done. And we'll call that one a good one. There we go, folks. So, Peter says just paint what you want, guys. It's a hobby. Yeah, exactly, mate. Paint for fun. That's what it's all about. Peter says you always deflect praise from your painted models, but you never fail to achieve great looking models. I don't have your artistic talent, so take the praise when it's due. I guess, do you know what it is, mate? I'm great at telling other people don't worry about like other people's minis and stuff like that, but I think I'm just conscious because I'm painting on a live stream. I know that I'm not the standard of most live stream painters, if you like. I'm not a like sort of like winning any awards or anything like that. But I'm painting for me. I'm not painting to teach people how to be perfect kind of thing. I'm just painting for me, and I'm painting to get stuff done. I know my stuff looks all right when it's like ranked up, if you like, but like one like model on its own doesn't always look great. But yeah, I'm happy, mate. I'm happy. Yeah, Lord Maiden saying, yeah, it's a hobby. As long as you're happy with it, that's all that matters. 100%. Spanky tells you don't have to be good at a hobby. You just have to enjoy it. 100%. Yeah, that's a phrase I will take to my grave. You do not need to be good at a hobby. You just need to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, find a hobby you do enjoy. Because if you're not enjoying it, why do it? That's the whole point. Peter says, even if you're not happy with it, do it anyway. No, I disagree, mate. If you're not enjoying your hobby, I mean, it might be that you might just be going through a bit of a flat patch and you want a bit of a break. Have a break from it. But if you've started a new hobby, for example, and you don't enjoy it, like then it's time to stop and find another hobby. Really, if you're just getting into it and you're not enjoying it. VG says shopping and drop-offs done. Got a couple of gigs this weekend. A nice one, mate. This is one interstate, so I think I'll get myself a haircut. Yeah, luckily I don't have to worry too much about that, mate. Getting the shaver over mine once a week is good enough, but my little boy, he is desperate for a haircut. Hairdressers are not open in the UK at the minute. He's starting to get a proper mop haircut. Peterson, you may improve with practice. If not, well, hey-ho. I think that's the point, really. You need to enjoy it, really. It doesn't matter how good or how bad you are. If you're enjoying the process, then you will get better naturally. Tabletop Rommel says, I'd be delighted to get those results, especially while chatting on a live stream. Yeah, I kind of forget that bit sometimes. Lord Tetapan says, be good at enjoying things. Yes. Peter says, I don't mean not happy with the hobby. I mean paint job or convert. Oh, sorry, yes, mate. As long as you enjoy it. It's funny, I was listening to an audio book the other day. And it's funny, basically it's like a kind of like a thing for life, really, is that we don't pick up a book and then just read the end of it to see what happens. We read the book because we enjoy the story, we enjoy the journey, and I kind of feel that like our hobby is like that. If all we wanted was beautifully painted miniatures, we'd be better off just paying somebody else to do them for us. But actually, if what we're wanting to do is just to kind of have some chill time and enjoy the actual process of painting and kind of enjoy yourself doing it and have something to talk about, then that's the whole point of it. If all you want is to have the minis painted, then pay somebody to paint them. If all you want to do is just to win the game and not enjoy the playing part of it, you might as well just flip a coin. Don't worry about what game you're playing. Just flip a coin and save yourself a lot of time. Lord Main says, now on the desk and the laptop only again. Spanky Taz says, and that's basically finally slays the Kraken. There you go, mate. I'll owe you for a bottle, mate, the amount you drank tonight, if that's the case. So yes, this is I think this is where we're at. We can just kind of see, I don't know if you can see with the light there, the gloss just kind of picking up a little bit with that lime green. I think that was a good choice. The purples worked out quite well as well with the overall colours. So what we'll have is, let's get that in there, and then obviously we'll have the rest of the faction painted up. The problem I've got now is I've got like a million colours scattered around my desk, so I have to work out. I have to go back and watch the live stream to see what colours I used on what before I put them all away again. Let me just put the lid on my wet palette. But yeah, that's tomorrow's job, to sort out those and work out which ones I've done. So what I'll do, folks, is, how we're doing for time? 11. That's not bad going, is it? Kind of time to perfection. If I can find my brush soap, which I put on my deck, there it is. We'll flick back to the main camera, and I'll sit and chat to you folks for 5 minutes while I wash my brushes. Peter says, Andy, you slayed it too. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Vijay says, admittedly, some people do just pay others. Yeah, they do, mate. And I think that's the whole point. If you don't enjoy it, then by all means, pay others and get it done if you can afford it, kind of thing. If it's something you don't enjoy doing, some people enjoy just having sort of beautiful miniatures. I've got a friend who's a really, really kind of award-winning painter, and he has a customer think he lives in Australia, who basically will just buy anything he paints because he's a collector and he just loves to collect beautifully painted miniatures. It's like he wants miniatures painted by like my friend kind of thing because he knows. I guess it's like having like a signed autograph of, or it's like having a famous painter's like piece of art or something like that. So everybody's different. Everybody enjoys different aspects of the hobby, but when you have a hobby, it has to be about the journey. It has to be about the process, because otherwise you might as well just shortcut it. It's like if you're watching a film, you don't just fast forward to the end to see what happens at the end. You don't like listen to a piece of music, but only sort of like listen to the last sort of 30 seconds because you just want it to be over. Like it's the process, it's the journey, it's the whole thing, and that's what hobbies are. Yeah, Spanky Taz says paintal journal for the win. Exactly, my paintal journals are just videos. Though that's the point. I have to go back tomorrow and kind of skip through it and watch what I was doing. At least I've narrowed it down. So VG said, I'd love to pay Sam to paint me a mini one day when I have the money again. Yeah, I mean that's the point, mate. It's like it might not be about having them painted to kind of play games with. It might be just to have a beautifully painted like model on a shelf somewhere on display. So which is just the same as buying a nice picture to hang on the wall kind of thing. There's different reasons for different stuff, isn't there? So right, Lord Tetterpan says there's enough to worry about in life without stressing over hobby. Chill out, don't fret. 110%, mate. Like I said before, life is way too short to not enjoy your hobby. There's plenty of things in life that we have to do, we're forced to do, like pay bills that we don't enjoy. If you're gonna have a hobby, at least make sure it's one that you enjoy doing. Right. So, folks, Busey says, any tips for printing the Deadpool bust? I've got a file that says supportless. Christian should be able to help you on that one, mate, because he printed mine, so hopefully he'll have a bit more advice. My Deadpool bust is, it's had a few little additions to. Let me just move these out of the way. I've kind of been washing over those brown bits, and I've washed over the handles on the swords as well, and then he tightened up a little bit. Yeah, so that's coming along as well. We'll get that finished probably maybe this weekend or something like that, when I'm just kind of chilling and kicking back a little bit. Got work to do this week though, so plenty of stuff to crack on work wise. Where are we up to here? Tabletop Ramble says, to be honest, I more enjoy playing. I prefer having painted models, so it's something I do. Yeah, I think a lot of people are in that same boat, mate. It's almost like a means to an end as opposed to enjoying it, which is why really is sometimes it's not about beating yourself up about trying to perfect anything. Sometimes just get them done to the kind of the best standard of the quickest standard you're happy with. VG says, I enjoy paying bills. It's the finding the money to pay them I have a problem with. Lord Tetterpan says, smiling at the rest of the world, wonder what you're up to. 100, nice one, mate. Colin Wakeland says, are you planning on painting the other snake the same colour but with a different coloured tip? Yeah, I think so, mate. I mean, I generally want to kind of keep the theme of this like band. Like red will be the kind of like the kind of the overall colour, I think. So yeah, I think I probably will I will keep it similar. What I might do is the cuts and stuff that's on it. So this one does, as I can't remember who was saying before, but this one does seem to have almost like rune marks on the side of it. So I might potentially do the runes in a different colour, and I might maybe where you've maybe got those like spiky bits around the hair, the ones I kind of highlighted orange here, I might highlight them like kind of like yellow or something like that, just to try and differentiate the two of them. But I'm going to try and sort of keep them similar, but just something to differentiate them, like you say, like the rattle or something. Peter says, I hope to see some of you at D&D tomorrow if my new cam works. Fingers crossed, mate. Yeah, I'll see you. Those of you playing, I will see you in the D&D game tomorrow night. Lord Technopan says the scales are sublime. Yeah, the quality of them is fantastic, aren't they? Anyway, thank you very much, folks, for coming and joining the stream tonight. I'm going to kind of wrap it up there now and have a night's sleep. What else was I wanting to say? I think that's pretty much it. If you fancy helping out to keep the lights on here and you want to join the Patreon and come and carry on this kind of chat on a 24/7 basis, please check out the Patreon. There's links in the chat. There's links at the video. Christian's just put a link in there now as well. Please do check that out. And if you're around next Monday, we'll have another live stream on Monday night. So thanks very much, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll speak soon. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.